Chapter 41 Ling Peak. Zheng Yuanqing's momentum of attack was as swift and fierce as a tiger's. Just his momentum was enough to shock anyone. Just as everyone felt that Qin Yun was unable to withstand the attack, they saw his body emit a faint golden mist as hot air gushed out from him. With a whoosh, the pale golden gas turned into a flaming shield that spun rapidly. Qin Yun constantly released his inner qi, turning it into a solid barrier. As the inner yuan in his dantian revolved rapidly, it stirred a wave of scorching air. Zheng Yuanqing also felt the heat, but he believed that if his tiger claws were stronger, they would definitely be able to penetrate the thin barrier. Heart-shattering tiger claw. After Zheng Yuanqing passed through, he stretched out his tiger claw. His speed suddenly increased, causing the powerful tiger claw to rush forward rapidly and stab at Qin Yun's chest. Everyone held their breath as they looked at the sharp tiger claws. When the tiger claw came in contact with the flame shield, it let out a sonic boom. Bang! The barrier suddenly erupted into a scorching wave of air, sending the menacing Zheng Yuanqing flying. Ah! Zheng Yuanqing gritted his teeth and howled in pain. His palms were red from the severe burns. Cold sweat broke out all over his body from the pain and his face turned blue. Qin Yun can actually move so fast to unleash such a degree of inner qi. The speed at which his inner energy revolves is definitely as fast as the speed of the flaming aura barrier. A teacher frowned. Qin Yun has cultivated the Black Yang tactic to mastery. When your inner force has reached large success, your inner qi will be even stronger and you will be able to control it more freely. Dean Zhang squinted his eyes and exclaimed. Large success of internal martial technique. All the freshmen present let out a wail in their hearts. They had only just achieved the first level of inner force cultivation and they did not know when they would reach the first stage of inner force cultivation. Yet, Qin Yun had already achieved great success. For the freshmen, cultivating the standard inner force skills from the very beginning is for the best. The Black Yang art Qin Yun cultivates is already very good. Ding Tianchun said, in many freshman families, cultivation techniques are at the spirit level. For those who have just started cultivating inner force skills, learning them is very difficult due to the difficulty of their inner cultivation technique. When the other students heard this, they were filled with regret. If they practiced an ordinary inner force skill, perhaps they would have reached small success. When it was about time, it would be easier to improve their inner force skill. I concede. Zheng Yuanqing looked at his burned hand and shouted through gritted teeth. He was also at the 5th level of the martial body realm, but the difference was this huge. I refuse to accept this. Yan Yun walked out from the crowd. Qin Yun, if you have the ability, stand still and let me punch you, I'll force you to retreat. If I can't, I lose, what do you think? Qin Yun said, as long as you lose, the 8 Class 4 beast corpses will belong to me. What do you think? All right. After saying that, Yan Yun immediately rushed over with the flying swallow steps. Her lily-white hands released a burst of water vapor and after 10 steps, the water vapor turned into frost. She possessed the water martial spirit, which could turn water into ice and frost through her internal functions. This was a pretty good level among the freshmen. Previously, Zheng Yuanqing had been unable to break through Qin Yun's barrier because it was too hot. Right now, Yan Yun was able to use her cold qi to resist the scorching qi. Not only that, her other hand even created a large amount of water. Yan Yun was full of confidence, thinking that she would definitely succeed and couldn't help but reveal a proud smile. She used the momentum from her flight to shoot out the water ball that she had created. Then, she followed the water ball with her ice palm. Cold air billowed out as she struck it with all her might. The crowd couldn't help but praise Yan Yun's intelligence as she thought of a plan to extinguish the fire with water. Just as Yan Yun was feeling pleased with herself, the moment the ball of water touched the flame shield, it instantly evaporated. Her expression changed, but it was already too late as the ice palm touched the flame shield. At the same time, several of the teachers' faces changed drastically as they rushed forward. Ah! Yan Yun screamed out miserably. She was sent flying by the hot air exploding out of the flame barrier as her entire body was shrouded in flames. Those teachers also acted very quickly extinguishing the flames so that Yan Yun would not be seriously injured. However, she was also burned to a sorry state. Her hand was even more severely injured than Zheng Yuanqing's. Yan Yun cried out in pain and anger. Ever since she was young, this was the first time she had suffered so much, and she just cried until she fainted in the arms of a middle-aged female teacher. Seeing this beautiful overbearing girl fall to the ground, everyone felt an inexplicable sense of satisfaction in their hearts. Is there anyone else who wants to challenge me? Qin Yun looked at the group of students and asked. The students were all silent as they watched the waves of the river. Zhong Lang possessed a sound martial spirit, and he was also at the 5th level of the martial body realm. If he fought, he would have a high chance of winning. However, he didn't have any intention of fighting. This person was extremely ruthless and didn't speak much either. Seeing how indifferent he was, people couldn't help but feel that he was quite shrewd. Since no one is coming, then it's decided. Dean Zhong handed Qin Yun a passage jade token that allowed him to enter the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array. Following that, Qin Yun also obtained a total of 18 demon beasts from Class 2 and Class 5. Adding to the fact that he killed some himself, it could be said that he had harvested a bountiful harvest. The faces of the class that lost the corpses of the demon beasts were extremely unsightly. The corpse of the quick ape that Qin Yun had obtained was the most precious. It was a Class 7 demonic beast. On the way back, Ding Tianchun gave him the corpse of the quick ape. Everyone waited for another day, but Kui Wei and the students of the 3rd class still did not return. In the meantime, they saw another fiery red giant eagle flying through the air at a breakneck speed. It was a rank 8 beast. In the outer regions of the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range, there are more and more stage 8 and 9 demon beasts appearing. Something must have happened inside. I'll go in and take a look. You guys return to the Waling Wu Academy first. With that, Dean Zhong entered the depths of the forest alone. All the teachers and students quickly returned to the Waling Wu Academy. Half a day later, they returned to the Waling Wu Academy. Yang Shiyu brought Qin Yun to the foot of the Waling Peak. Waling Peak was the tallest mountain in the Waling Wu Academy. It was located in the innermost area of the academy. It was over 10,000 meters tall and its peak was covered in frost year-round. It was extremely cold. The peak was steep and rough. He had to climb it himself. This was not too difficult for Qin Yun, who was at the 5th level of the martial body. However, it took him several hours to reach the peak. The peak of the mountain was extremely cold. Ice and snow were flying everywhere and the wind was as sharp as knives. Qin Yun looked at the 9 suns in the sky and walked towards a 9-level ice tower. He thought to himself, although there are a few suns, there's only one that's hot. The other 8 are just emitting light. How strange. Because the tower was covered in snow, it looked like an ice tower. As Qin Yun entered the ice tower, he saw a white-haired elder that was at the end of his years. He took out the jade token that Dean Zhong had given him, passed it over, and said, "Hello senior. I have obtained the qualifications to enter the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array." The old man took the jade tablet, and said slowly, "The 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array is at the top. After you go up, wait patiently, I will activate the array. 10 days from now, the formation will stop and you will have to leave this place as soon as possible." Quote. Qin Yun nodded and walked up the stairs to the top level. When he reached the top floor, he saw that there were many patterns on the ground. He squatted down and observed carefully, even stroking it with his hand. He thought to himself, this 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array is made with many inscriptions. These patterns look a little familiar. Chapter 42 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array. Qin Yun looked around and after confirming that there was no one around, he took out the bamboo scroll that read, 36 Spirit Marks, and opened it. Sure enough, he used the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array to compare a few of the spirit marks and found similarity. All I see are parts of the inscription, which is why I feel that it's so familiar. Qin Yun was secretly delighted. Then, he walked back and forth on this level as he memorized the positions of the spirit inscriptions. He then took out another piece of paper and quickly drew on it, quickly drawing the entire 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array. Suddenly, a strong wave of energy fluctuations could be felt as a large amount of 9 Yang energy was quickly injected into the array. The 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array was activated. Qin Yun hurriedly sat down with his legs crossed. He began using the Black Yang arts to absorb the 9 Yang energy. After stepping into the 5th level of the martial body, you need to continuously condense inner chi to develop and strengthen your inner strength. Yang Shiyu had told him before that during 5th level martial body stage, he could form the bone meridian, heart meridian, and soul meridian in his body before reaching the 6th level of the martial body. Qin Yun looked at the vibration inner yuan as he thought to himself, I have talent equivalent to the 9 spirit veins. However, because I have 2 inner yuan, I need to put in more effort. It makes me stronger. 10 days passed by quickly. In the 9 yang spirit convergence array, Qin Yun had absorbed a large amount of 9 yang energy. It was equivalent to the amount he had absorbed in 2 years. After the great formation came to a halt, Qin Yun reluctantly walked down the stairs. He did not break through, but his 2 inner yuans had grown by a lot. The main thing was that he had to consume a lot of his internal energy in order to consolidate his inner strength. Last time, he was heavily hit by Qin Daren's attack on his dantian, but his inner yuan was completely unharmed. It was precisely because of the vibration inner yuan that he was able to protect himself. Therefore, it was worth it even if he used up most of his internal energy. Next, I need to form 3 great scriptures before I can break through to the 6th level of the martial body. Although I am not at the 6th level of the martial body realm yet, when facing a martial artist at the 6th level, even if I cannot win, I will not lose. Quote. Qin Yun walked out of the ice tower and took a bath with ice and snow in the snowy lands outside. He changed into a clean set of white clothes and began climbing down the Wuling Peak. When he came down from Wuling Peak, he saw Yang Shiyu walking slowly towards him from afar. She was wearing a purple dress, which made her look noble and cold, looking very beautiful. Qin Yun said with a smile, Teacher, you are on time. Yang Shiyu gently smiled and said, You are my only precious student, of course I have to look after you. Furthermore, I am worried about Master Wei's presence at the Wuling Wu Academy. Has he gone yet? Didn't they say that they were holding a banquet to celebrate Wei Shuenken's becoming an inscriptionist? It's not started yet. Qin Yun could not help but smile. It's just talisman crafting, what's the big deal? Yang Shiyu secretly curled her lips. Indeed, in Qin Yun's eyes, it was no big deal. However, for an extremely large number of people, as long as they were able to create a spirit mark, then it was worth celebrating. She said, Master Wei has invited too many guests, so he has delayed it till now. He has also invited us. Are you going? Qin Yun said with a smile, If you can eat and drink for free, why don't you go? After all, it's Master Wei. They will definitely serve good wine and dishes to entertain guests. He cultivated on the ice pagoda for 10 days. Although he would not feel hungry after absorbing the spirit energy, he was very keen on delicious food. Yang Shiyu had a faint smile on her face as she said, All right, then let's go together. I heard that they are all top quality dishes and the taste will definitely be good. When the time comes, we'll drink 2 cups and use this banquet to congratulate you on successfully creating the spirit mark. As Qin Yun and Yang Shiyu chatted, they came to the lake and took a walk on the riverbank that was filled with willow trees. Teacher, with her personality, since Yan Yun was injured by me, she will definitely not let this matter rest. Qin Yun said with concern. Wei Shuenken was also injured by you. What can he do to you? Yang Shiyu disapproved. No, he had his revenge in the dark. Qin Yun recalled the matter of the ape as his face suffused an angry expression. It seems like Professor Ding's injuries have another reason. Yang Shiyu already felt that this matter was fishy. Has Dean Zhang returned? Qin Yun lowered his voice as he looked around and asked. When Yang Shiyu saw Qin Yun's actions, she could tell that something shocking must have happened. She hurriedly pulled him back to their residence in the bamboo forest. Professor Ding and I encountered an ambush inside. Qin Yun took out the corpse of the quick ape and placed it on the floor of the hall. This is. Yang Shiyu's brows furrowed, and she quickly saw a collar, and said, A demonic beast with a master. After Professor Ding was injured in the fight with this quick ape, Kui Wei came out with a group of students. I was surrounded and attacked by students. Professor Ding and Kui Wei were in a tough battle. As Qin Yun spoke to hear, Yang Shiyu had already guessed a few things. Dean Zhang came back 2 days ago. He couldn't find Kui Wei and the other students. Yang Shiyu looked at Qin Yun with a questioning gaze when Qin Yun nodded. I killed both the student and Kui Wei. Qin Yun sighed and told her what had happened. Just pretend this didn't happen. Professor Ding definitely won't tell anyone. Yang Shiyu rubbed Qin Yun's head and said with a gentle smile, quickly tell me how you did in the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array. Qin Yun told Yang Shiyu about his cultivation before asking her for advice on the cultivation of the 3 great scriptures. After Yang Shiyu heard this, she smiled in satisfaction and began to talk about the 3 great scriptures that he needed to pay attention to. Qin Yun listened very attentively and asked a few questions from time to time. It wasn't until deep into the night that Yang Shiyu finished her lesson and went back to her room to rest. At night, Qin Yun was full of energy. He did not rest and instead went to craft talismans. The thunder talisman Kui Wei used was so powerful that it was able to injure a scaled steel tiger. He looked at a lightning rune in the bamboo scroll that recorded the 36 spirit marks. Then, he started drawing on the talisman paper. After a few failures, he had finally succeeded in creating a thunder talisman. With his experience in making fire talismans, it was much easier for Qin Yun to create other talismans. I'm only crafting low-grade spirit marks, while Kui Wei is using high-grade and top-grade thunder runes. Qin Yun looked at the lightning symbols he had produced and felt extremely satisfied. As my cultivation increases, my mental strength will also increase by quite a bit. Right now, I'm also making fire talismans much faster than before. Later on, he made another fire talisman before going to rest. At daybreak, the largest training square in the Hualing Wu Academy was bustling with noise and excitement. In the martial arts practice square, many people were busy moving chairs over and starting to set up a grand banquet. Master Wei had put in a lot of effort to celebrate his son's accomplishment. At the same time, it was to let Wei Shuenkan redeem the face he had lost to Qin Yun through this celebration. In the evening, the 9 suns dyed the sky red. In the martial arts practice grounds of the Hualing Wu Academy, there were many beauties and many officials. Clearly, Master Wei held a very high position. Qin Yun and Yang Shiyu had also come. They were sitting at the back, but Master Wei had sent people to invite them to the front. It was obvious that he had ill intentions. Chapter 43 Bank. The banquet began. Master Wei was wearing a dazzling golden outfit and it was very luxurious. His square face was filled with smiles. He walked onto a martial stage in front of him and began to speak courteously. After Master Wei finished his pleasantries, he went to Wei Shuenkan. He was dressed just like his father, in a golden-colored luxurious robe. Furthermore, there was a sword hanging from his waist. It seemed to be a spirit treasure. Wei Shuenkan also spoke a lot of pleasantries before starting to release fireworks. After the fireworks, the guests below the stage all sang and danced merrily. Many of the powerful and influential figures of the various sects stepped forward to congratulate Wei Shuenkan and Master Wei. Qin Yun continued to eat and drink with Yang Shiyu. In any case, he didn't need to care about cost of food. Furthermore, Dean Zhong was in the Hualing Wu Academy, so there was no chance for Master Wei to do anything. Yang Shiyu was only dressed simply tonight. She wore a simple white dress and after drinking a few cups of wine, a faint blush appeared on her beautiful face, revealing her enchanting fragrance. Master Wei held a cup of wine and floated to Qin Yun's side with a few steps. He laughed heartily and said, Qin Yun, after defeating Kuner, you made little Yun lose and obtained the qualification to enter the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array. You can be said to be the #1 genius among the freshmen. I'm very grateful to you for attending this dinner. Although the martial arts practice field was bustling with noise, Master Wei's voice, which was neither slow nor rushed, was heard by everyone. Master Wei had said such polite words and even toasted Qin Yun. Such magnanimity caused many people to praise him repeatedly. Qin Yun hurriedly stood up to toast him and said with a smile, Master Wei, you are being too courteous. We are all students of the Hualing Wu Academy. Since Senior Wei is able to craft talismans, it is naturally the honor of the Hualing Wu Academy. Of course I wanted to come. His clear laughter also covered the entire martial arts practice field. The strength of his inner chi made many of the old officials secretly scared. Since Qin Yun had entered the Hualing Wu Academy, the old officials had not seen him. Now that they had seen him with their own eyes, they could not help but worry. At this moment, a white-haired elder walked over. He was dressed in a purple gold brocade robe with a jade pendant hanging from his waist. He exuded a domineering aura as he stared at Qin Yun with a cold gaze. This white-haired old man was the Duke of Yan, Yan Yun's grandfather. After he walked over, he said to Master Wei, "Old Wei, you don't know about this. This child has been taught by a devil woman since childhood, and although 4 of his spirit veins were taken away by us, he still managed to cultivate in demonic techniques, which is why he has achieved his current achievements." The group of old officials and those aristocratic families all came forward to assist the Duke of Yan by saying that Qin Yun cultivated demonic arts. Qin Yun knew that today was not that simple. Back in the experiential learning, he and Ding Tianchun had been attacked by the Quick Ape and Kui Wei. This had to do with Master Wei. He now knew that Master Wei was a hypocrite, just like those old officials. Dean Zhong walked over and said with a smile, "Qin Yun is a student of our Lingwu Academy. He does not cultivate demonic arts. The Black Sun art that he cultivates is given to him by Teacher Yang. The martial arts that he learned later on were the Flame Light Fist and the Flame Cloud Steps that he obtained. These are things that everyone knows about." When the Duke of Yan saw Dean Zhong's voice, his face immediately revealed concern. He clicked his tongue and sighed, "Dean, although your words are so, you can't be convinced the public. You might not know this, but at that moment, everyone in Tianjin believed that Qin Yun cultivated demonic arts. Your one-sided statement is hard to believe. Furthermore, it is precisely because of Qin Yun that the reputation of the Lingwu Academy has become so terrible." Looking at the expressions of the other guests, Yang Shiyu knew that they had already discussed secretly and used the banquet to pressure the Lingwu Academy. Even if Qin Yun did not come this time, he would still cause a ruckus. "Then what do you think? Kill Qin Yun?" Dean Zhong laughed. His tone turned cold as he said, "If I were to send thousands of people to spread Wei Shuankan as practicing demonic art, the entire country will think that he's cultivating it soon, right?" Everyone was puzzled as to why Dean Zhong wanted to protect Qin Yun. In their eyes, Dean Zhong should have given up on Qin Yun for the sake of Lingwu Academy's reputation. Duke Yan seemed to have predicted that Dean Zhong would protect Qin Yun as he said calmly, "How about this? Let Qin Yun spar with an even stronger cultivator for an hour. In this hour, if he faced oppression and did not use any devil arts, which means that he is innocent. Quote, this method may be cruel, but it can effectively test whether he cultivates a demonic art or not. During the competition, he could not endure the torture and might not be able to suppress the devil arts and release them. If he really did use a demonic art, we can promise that we won't kill him. We'll only expel him from the country." The idea put forward by the Duke of Yan had the support of many people. Yang Shiyu listened to him with a face full of anger and coldly shouted, "I don't agree. I also suspect that you all are cultivating in a demonic art and that I should be testing you all using martial art, so I shall spar with you all. How about that?" She was at the 9th level of the martial body realm and came from the Tianzan martial school. Her strength was definitely not weak and no one knew what her martial spirit was. Not many of the old martial artists here dared to fight her. A patriarch of the Wang family said, "In any case, we have already decided today. If Qin Yun is unable to give us an explanation, we will drop out of school. We should also withdraw from this academy and leave this academy that is hosting devils to go to another empire's dojo. Qin Yun's demonic arts has become so powerful that they occupy all the resources of the freshmen. It's very unfair. We can only withdraw from the academy. The other martial arts academies from other countries are not worse off than the Lingwu Academy. Moreover, the teachers and the dean here are protecting the devil. As teachers, we can't stand it any longer. Let's go as well," a teacher said. The patriarchs of large families and a few teachers all shouted in unison. Dean Zhong had an extremely ugly expression. He knew that this group of people would definitely be able to do it. Now, he could only persuade Qin Yun to back off. Qin Yun suddenly asked, "Who did you arrange to compete with me? If it were not for the fact that you are trying to force me to face a powerful warrior, I would accept it." The Duke of Yan chuckled and said proudly, "A martial artist at the 6th level of the martial body. He is only 18 years old and had just returned from the Ling Zanwu Academy. This is my grandson, Yan Qingyu. Quote, Yan Qingyu possessed 4 spirit veins and a platinum sword martial spirit. He had entered the Ling Wu Academy early and was chosen by the Ling Zanwu Academy. Who would have known he was already at the 6th level of the martial body? A student exclaimed. The Lin Zanwu Academy, the Tianzan Martial Arts Academy and the Star Zanwu Academy, also known as the 3 Profound Martial Academies, they were all equally powerful. The Duke of Yan said with a smile, Don't worry. We won't use our weapons in the competition. Qin Yun, if you can pass our test and prove that you are not a demonic fighter, we will kneel down and apologize to you. We will even give you a compensation of 100,000 crystal coins. Quote, All right, I agree, Qin Yun said. Chapter 44. Yang Xiyu pulled Qin Yun over because she had heard of Yan Qingyu and knew that he was very strong. She looked at the group of people and said, Qin Yun, with your talent, you can achieve great things even if you are not in the academy. Qin Yun said, Teacher, believe me. I am not only doing it for myself but also for others to know that you have not protected the devil and that your student is extremely outstanding. Quote, His calm voice contained an unyielding arrogance. When Yang Xiyu saw Qin Yun's resolute determination and confidence, she sighed lightly and let go of his hand, allowing him to walk up to the martial stage. The Duke of Yan smiled proudly and said, You just need to endure for an hour. In this 1 hour, there will be no admitting defeat or begging. Moreover, life and death will be decided by the heavens. He looked at Master Wei and continued, In order to ensure fairness, I would like to request Master Wei to activate a formation. No one can enter or leave until an hour passed. Quote, Suddenly, the crowd burst into cheers. Yan Qingyu did not jump up from his place. Instead, he landed on the battling platform like a fallen leaf. His movement skills were truly worthy of praise. He wore close-fitting azure clothes and had a handsome face with slanted brows and starry eyes. His eyes were filled with disdain as he sized up Qin Yun. Master Wei placed many small flags around the battling platform and soon, a formation array was set up. When the Duke of Yan and a group of old officials saw that this matter had been accomplished, they revealed looks of joy. They laughed heartily and toasted each other. They were as happy as if they had seen Qin Yun die. Yan Yun was the happiest as she looked at Qin Yun with venomous eyes. She said with a smile, Brother Kun, is Qin Yun doomed? Qingyu is your brother, you don't know his strength. The Ling Zanwu Academy is a Zan-level martial academy. The students inside are extremely terrifying and could not be dealt with by Qin Yun who was only at the 5th level of the martial body. Even if you are at the 6th level of the martial body realm, you can't guarantee that you won't be injured when facing your brother. Wei Shuanken was also beaming with joy. Qin Yun, whom he hated to the core, was about to die a horrible death. Dean Zhong's expression was solemn and cold. He took out an hour's worth of hourglass and flipped it over before announcing the start of the martial arts competition. Of course, this could not be considered a martial arts competition because Yan Qingyu's strength was too much for Qin Yun. As long as Qin Yun could endure for an hour and did not use any demonic arts, everyone would believe that he was innocent. Yan Qingyu was a member of the Yan clan. He had mastered the soaring swallow steps very well. The instant he started, he suddenly flashed and flew out, dragging an afterimage with him. When he was 2 meters away from Qin Yun, he raised his palm and sent out a gale. His internal energy was mixed within the gale as he roared at Qin Yun. So fast, so much faster than me. When Qin Yun saw Yan Qingyu attack, he was alarmed. Immediately, he gritted his teeth and could only resist. There was no way to dodge it. A knife-like gale blew on his body, slashing across it like countless sharp blades, causing many cracks to appear on his clothes. Fortunately, he transferred the accumulated internal energy into his muscles, causing them to tense up and become stiff. Otherwise, his body would have been covered in wounds. Although he could block it, he was forced to retreat and lean against the wall of air created by the array formation. The Duke of Yan gave a long laugh and said with a righteous face, Qingyu has a sword martial spirit, he can use his hand as a sword and release sword qi. Now, in order to force Qin Yun to release his demonic arts, he would know his limits. He would not kill Qin Yun immediately because he will not be able to convince everyone. Quote, The sixth level of the martial body realm was able to use powerful inner strength, but Yan Qingyu had not used it yet. You injured little sister Yun before. Now, I'll repay you tenfold in her place. Yan Qingyu sneered, and with a wave of his hand, he sent out a whirlwind that swept Qin Yun over. After Qin Yun's body was wrapped around, he felt a sharp pain as though his body was being pricked by needles. He could not help but cry out in pain. After which, Yan Qingyu chopped out with his palm, releasing a sharp sword qi. Sword beams shrouded the area as though there were thousands of needles stabbing into his bones. The pain made Qin Yun howl crazily. Yan Yun giggled while Wei Shuankan happily drank a bowl of wine. The old officials could not stop grinning from ear to ear. They felt that Qin Yun had been eliminated and were overjoyed. Yang Shiyu clenched her fists as she saw this. Her face was frosty and her teeth were tightly clenched. A wave of anger was accumulated in her heart. Humph! When Yan Qingyu saw how Qin Yun was powerless to struggle, he smacked him in the abdomen with his palm. With a heavy strike to his dantian, Qin Yun was sent flying. He crashed into the array wall and vomited blood. Instantly, the thousands of people in the plaza cried out in alarm. Some people felt regret, some people felt excited, and some people felt helpless. As Yan Qingyu's palm was extremely heavy, Qin Yun did not have any form of protection. The inner yuan in his dantian was definitely heavily damaged. Everyone felt that even if he didn't die, his lower body would still have to stay in bed. A 15-year-old 5th-level martial body, yet he was about to fall like this. The crowd was sighing with emotion. Yang Shiyu watched on expressionlessly. The palm strike from before had made her heart shudder. Only after she saw Qin Yun slowly stand up did she heave a sigh of relief. She knew that Qin Yun had a powerful physique. He had immersed himself in the Heavenly Lion Lake for 10 days. After much training, his toughness was not that easily defeated. Seeing Qin Yun stand up, the audience let out a soft exclamation. This was very surprising. Fine, I'll see how long you can last. Yan Qingyu's expression turned cold as she charged forward as though he had received a great provocation. Like a sword, his inner force swept across like a tornado, lifting Qin Yun into the air. Qin Yun's body was enveloped by the sword beams as though they were being wrapped up by thorny vines. The sword beams that penetrated his bones constantly penetrated his body and penetrated his bones. Hold on. Although Qin Yun was in great pain, he was clear-headed. He hurriedly used the Black Yang arts and began rotating his 2 yuans, condensing them into internal energy that flowed into his body. Now he was sure that his inner force wouldn't be shattered. Qin Yun controlled his inner force to flow through his body as he fused the bone-piercing sword beams together before rushing into his bone marrow to temper his bones. Yang Shiyu had previously said that the fastest way to condense the bone-refining scripture was to stimulate the body. Normally, he would use precious medicinal materials and high-grade beast blood to concoct the medicinal liquid and use it to soak his entire body. Qin Yun did not have the conditions to soak in the medicinal bath. He could only use this method. He looked at Yan Qingyu as he silently endured in his heart, "Don't be complacent, I'm using your sword energy to forge the Bone Sutra." Boom. Yan Qingyu continued to wreak havoc on Qin Yun with his sword qis. It was as though Qin Yun was a sandbag as he constantly ravaged him. His strength was growing stronger each time. Everyone watching felt their scalps go numb. They were not frightened by Yan Qingyu's methods but by Qin Yun's tough physique. Every time Qin Yun suffered a heavy blow, everyone thought that he had fallen flat on the ground. However, he could always drag his battered body up again and again. Such tenacious willpower caused many people to be filled with admiration. Yang Shiyu clenched her jade-like fists tightly. Her heart was filled with scars, as she secretly felt pain in her heart. How could she not see that Qin Yun was forging the bone scripture? However, this was too tragic. She had no choice but to watch and worry that Qin Yun would encounter some mishap. The old officials who were previously elated were now tense. This was not going as smoothly as they had expected. Chapter 45. The strength of Qin Yun's physique shocked the old officials and made them envious. If he could really survive through this hour, this old official's plan would have failed. Is this the result of soaking in the Celestial Lion Lake for 10 days? The 10 days of torture in the Heavenly Lion Lake, how did he endure? Ding Tianchun said in a low voice. His words made many people quiver. Everyone knew that Yan Qingyu, who had ravaged Qin crazily, had entered the Celestial Lion Lake as well. However, he had only lasted for a day before he crawled out. He had nearly died inside. And according to the rumors, Qin had walked out with Yang Shiyu as if nothing had happened. Yan Qingyu had originally thought that it would be a quick way to force Qin into submission. He also believed that even if Qin did not cultivate a demonic art, he would admit it because he could not stand his torment. However, the current Qin showed no signs of yielding. He had a resolute expression as he gritted his teeth and endured all sorts of pain. The most terrifying thing was that every time he was beaten into a pile of mud, he would be able to stand up again. This unyielding will had infected many people. Never yield, Qin roared in his heart as he crawled up with great difficulty. Yan Qingyu was extremely infuriated. He glanced at the Duke of Yan who was standing below the arena, only to see the Duke of Yan nodding his head in agreement. This scene immediately made Yang Shiyu tense up. It was the same for Ding Tianchun and Ding Zhang. And they had also decided that no matter what, they could not let Qin be destroyed here. After Yan Qingyu obtained consent, he could use all sorts of stronger methods to attack Qin. At this moment, more than half of the hourglass was missing. After Qin stood up, Yan Qingyu gave a loud shout as sword beams shot out and congealed into a short sword. Inner strength. Someone shouted out loudly and the crowd immediately began to shout. The short sword formed by the mist was the inner strength. Powerful inner strength could pierce through steel and crack iron and could shatter hills. Inner strength was the powerful force that could only be used when one was at the 6th level of the martial body. Only by cultivating 3 great scriptures could one control inner strength. A dagger-like inner strength was released as it struck at Qin abdomen. Ah! Qin screamed as he was sent flying. He lay on the ground as his body twitched. Just as Yang Shiyu was about to rush over, she saw Qin eyes, which were tightly wrinkled from the pain, reveal a hint of brilliance. This made her immediately stop. After the short sword's inner strength struck Qin dantian, the inner strength was not blasted away by the vibration inner yuan. Instead, it was absorbed by the vibration inner yuan. After the inner yuan had absorbed the inner strength, it began to shake violently. Qin had thought that the inner yuan would dissipate the incoming inner strength, but to his surprise, the sword inner strength was absorbed by the inner yuan. It vibrated throughout his body and seeped into his bones. He felt as if every part of his body was being torn apart. Once it was torn apart, the 2 inner yuans immediately released the inner qi and quickly healed the injuries. The process was extremely painful, but Qin was extremely excited. That was because he saw the 2 inner yuans in his dantian were spinning rapidly, sometimes bigger and sometimes smaller. After contracting, they suddenly expanded, as if they were breathing. Inner yuan spirit aura. Qin was extremely excited. Only when he cultivated his inner force cultivation method to the great perfection would such a phenomenon occur. If it was a higher level cultivation technique, it would be able to release inner yuan's qi and mental energy at the large success stage. Inner yuan spirit aura could let the inner yuan breathe, and when it breathed, it rotated rapidly, allowing the inner yuan to release and absorb even more qi. It was said that there were people at the 8th or 9th level of the martial body realm who were unable to have inner yuan spirit aura, and Qin had reached it. Yan Qingyu came to Qin side and sneered. "You won't be able to stand up this time, right?" He stepped on Qin back. Indeed, Qin did not stand up again. The main thing was that he was shaking his inner yuan. He was constantly sending waves of his inner force to every part of his body to temper his flesh and bones. It was the crux of the bone-forging scripture. "Tell me, did you train in a demonic technique?" Yan Qingyu coldly asked. Yang Shiyu suddenly shouted, "If Qin dies and you can't prove that he cultivated demonic arts, then I, Yang Shiyu, will make you pay with your blood even if it costs my life." Her cold voice, accompanied by a bone-piercing killing intent, enveloped the entire martial arts practice grounds. This caused everyone to feel cold all over. Our Linghui Academy will never let a student be forced to death like this. I have already stepped into the martial Dao realm, so I will do my best to not let the person who persecuted the student leave here alive. Dean Zhang's voice was so light yet it made everyone shudder. Martial Dao realm, what kind of strength was that? No one present knew of this, but they knew that it was extremely terrifying. If Qin Yun were to die just like that and there was no precise way to prove cultivation of demonic arts, the Duke of Yan and company would face considerable pressure, such as from Yang Shiyu and Ding Zhong. Especially Yang Shiyu, she had a cultivation base at the 9th level of the martial body. If she were to put her life on the line, it would be extremely terrifying. Furthermore, she was a student of the Tianzan martial school. Yan Qingyu was also facing a great deal of pressure. Back then, the elders had told him that Qin Yun was either forced to use demonic arts or forced to admit that he cultivated them. However, the current Qin Yun was so tough. He did not use any demonic arts nor did he admit to it. Yan Qingyu could not kill Qin Yun. If not, he and his elders would not be able to escape. If an hour passed and Qin Yun did not show a demonic art, the Duke of Yan and the other old officials would have to kneel down and apologize to Qin Yun. Yan Qingyu gritted his teeth and released another wave of inner strength. The sword-like inner strength entered Qin Yun's body from his back. This time, it was the same as before. The inner strength was absorbed by the vibration inner yuan before being released to every part of his body to temper his muscles and bones. Qin Yun was aware of the current situation. Yan Qingyu did not dare to kill him. Otherwise, more than half of the people here would die with him. Even Master Wei might not be able to escape death. The cold murderous intent of Yang Shiyu and Ding Zhong enveloped the entire training field. It seemed like once Qin Yun died, they would be able to slaughter everyone here into a river of blood. This oppressive atmosphere made it hard for many to breathe. It was a dark night. The stars and moon were covered by the thick clouds, making them even darker. In the martial arts practice grounds of the Waling Wu Academy, no one had eaten anything. They had cold sweat trickling down their backs as they stared at the sand in the hourglass. On the martial stage, Yan Qingyu would occasionally strike Qin Yun with his inner strength. However, Qin Yun refused to admit that he cultivated demonic arts and did not use demonic arts to counterattack. He did not faint and endured the pain. An hour was about to pass. If Qin Yun were to survive this ordeal, the Duke of Yan and his bunch of old officials would have to kneel down and admit their mistakes. This was kneeling in front of thousands of people. Although the Duke of Yan and a group of treacherous officials were schemers and conniving old foxes, they had never expected Qin Yun to have such tenacious willpower. That was because they did not possess such things, so they naturally overlooked such things. Those who fell into their hands in the past, no matter how stubborn they were always tortured and forced to confess. However, this move of theirs was no longer effective. Qin Yun's 5 years of tough cultivation had allowed him to develop the most frightening willpower and strong faith amongst the nobles. He was currently breathing and constantly releasing his inner force to flow through his entire body. Unknowingly, faint golden threads had formed, as if they were connected to all the bones. As this the bone meridian, Qin Yun, who was lying on the ground, felt it with his spirit force. He was feeling excited. Chapter 46 Recognition of Mistakes. Qin Yun could feel his inner force flowing through his bones. It could easily enter his bone marrow, filling his bones with a stronger power that could withstand an even stronger impact. Bone was the frame of the body. If the bone was strong, then the flesh and blood would be strong. The internal organs would grow stronger along with it and the body would be refined. The bone meridian is indeed powerful, just like the inner force. They can control the meridians of the whole body and quickly channel the power of the inner force throughout the body. Qin Yun used the bone meridian to rapidly circulate the 2 streams of inner yuan energy from the 2 inner yuans to every part of his body. The bone meridian was completely formed and linked together. From within the bones, a series of explosive crackling sounds could be heard. Qin Yun felt as though he had been reborn. The pain he had suffered instantly vanished as an abundant amount of internal energy instantly filled his entire body. Yan Qingyu then released another wave of inner strength that turned into a sword. This time, Qin Yun moved. He rolled on the ground, avoiding the surge of inner strength. When the inner strength landed on the ground, the hard stone slab shattered into pieces. In an instant, Qin Yun leapt up and used his hands as blades to execute the Wind Slayer art. Now, he was able to use his inner force and execute the Wind Slayer art. This meant that he had learned the Wind Slayer arts at the small success stage. A high-grade spirit-rank martial art at the initial stage was not something to be underestimated. Its power was extremely terrifying. Yan Qingyu had never expected that Qin Yun, who was being tortured to the point of half-living, would suddenly jump violently. Furthermore, when he had ravaged Qin Yun for nearly an hour, the consumption of his body was immense. Yan Qingyu had come out of the Lin Zhanwu Academy, so he reacted extremely quickly when faced with an unexpected situation. He immediately circulated his remaining inner qi to defend himself. He crossed his hands as inner force surged out to form a shield to block Qin Yun's dual blades. Qin Yun hacked down with both hands as a surge of vibrating inner force surged out. It pushed on a scorching hot flame of inner force. As his hands slashed down, two gigantic blades containing immense power descended like mountains in the earth. The two hands, one attacking and one defending, collided at an extremely fast speed. Boom! Sparks flew in all directions. The shock of Qin Yun's inner force dissipated the inner force from Yan Qingyu's arms. The vibrating power then brought with it the fire qi, and like a wave, it poured into Yan Qingyu's body. Yan Qingyu's arms danced wildly in the air, flames billowing around him as he screamed out in a crazed manner. All of this happened so fast that everyone was dumbfounded. No one expected Qin Yun to suddenly come back to life and leap at Yan Qingyu to launch a fierce attack. Master Wei, quickly remove the formation. The Duke of Yan wanted to jump up onto the stage, but he was stopped by formation. It had to be said that the formation laid down by Grandmaster Wei was very solid. The Duke of Yan was at the 9th level of the martial body realm, yet he could not shake it in the slightest. From the looks of it, Master Wei had invested a lot in setting up this array formation in order to prevent Qin Yun from being rescued at a critical moment. Just as Master Wei was frantically trying to withdraw the array, a whooshing sound came from the battling platform. All he saw was Qin Yun's hands overflowing with fire elemental energy. Like a sharp blade, he was performing a terrifying martial art. What was even more terrifying was that the invisible vibration internal energy in his flesh and bones could break through all defenses. Shua shua shua, Qin Yun struck out with Wind Slayer art. Wind Slasher, Wave Breaker, Mountain Splitter, Thunderclap. A terrifying qi, wild and tyrannical, enveloped Yan Qingyu. In just 4 moves, Yan Qingyu's meridians were all shattered by this martial art. On the surface of his body, there were many shocking Dao marks. In an instant, Yan Qingyu was chopped into a bloody mess by Qin Yun's two-handed attacks. At this moment, the sand in the hourglass had completely leaked out and the array formation began to undo itself. The martial arts arena was completely silent. The corners of the Duke of Yan's eyes and the muscles on his old face were twitching violently. His Yan clan's most outstanding disciple had actually suffered such a crushing defeat in front of him. Yang Shiyu leapt up and landed beside Qin Yun. Only by knowing that Qin Yun had cultivated the bone meridian could he instantly burst forth with such terrifying power. Brother Qingyu, Yan Yun cried out miserably and fainted. As for the Yan family's women, they started to wail even louder. Qin Yun sneered. Just now, he had been tormented to the point where he could not stand a single glance. As for these people, they were all beaming with joy and chatting merrily. Duke Yan jumped over to check on Yan Qingyu's injuries and pointed at Qin Yun. His voice and hands trembled violently as he said, "Qin Yun. You. He was so angry that he could not speak. Anger poured out from his trembling body, creating gusts of wind. This was because Yan Qingyu's inner yuan was already gone. Yang Shiyu's face was as cold as ice. She stood in front of Qin Yun and said coldly, "Everyone has already seen that Qin Yun did not use any demonic arts. Instead, he used fire inner qi and wind slaying art. Of course, his wind slayer art has already reached the small success stage and he has also condensed his own inner force. 5th level of the martial body, condensing inner force, mastering the wind slaying incantation. Even a 6th level martial body cultivator would find it difficult to resist." Wei Shuanken was also alarmed by Qin Yun's terrifying talent and asked involuntarily, "Then how can you condense inner force so quickly? 10 days in the Heavenly Lion Lake and 10 days in the 9 Suns Spirit Convergence Array. If it were you, would you dare say that you couldn't condense it?" Dean Zhong said with a sneer, "Qin Yun's talent in the martial Dao is not bad, but there are many that are more terrifying than him. For example, Xiao Yulin from the Tian Xiao Empire. She is only 16 years old, yet she is already at the 8th level of the martial body realm. Xiao Yulin was actually at the 8th level of the martial body realm. Not only the teenagers but even the seniors and teachers were shocked beyond belief. A 16-year-old girl possessing the cultivation of the 8th level martial body. Her cultivation was higher than many of the teachers and old servants here. This was truly shocking. From the looks of it, Qin Yun was nothing compared to Xiao Yulin. After the Yan clan elders went up to check on Yan Qingyu's injuries, they all shook their heads in despair. He was already crippled and even waking up was a hard thing now, even though he was still alive. As the Duke of Yan saw Yan Qingyu being carried away, he walked to the bottom and sat down on a chair. He was in so much pain that he almost vomited blood. Although the other old officials were saddened, they were secretly delighted in their hearts. The destruction of the genius disciples of other families was something they loved to see. After all, who didn't wish for their powers to become stronger? Moreover, the Duke of Yan was now strutting on top of their heads, flaunting his might. He often boasted about how amazing Yan Qingyu was. All of you, kneel down and admit your wrongs to Qin Yun. Yang Shiyu suddenly shouted angrily, causing everyone to tremble. Everyone suddenly recalled the promise that the Duke of Yan and the others had made. After a sigh, Master Wei walked up to the stage and said in a clear voice, "I will never be able to keep up with the king's words." From the previous test, Qin Yun did not cultivate demonic arts. Furthermore, he had cultivated the bone scripture. He was a rare talent in the pursuit of martial arts. In that case, everyone should keep their promise and keep it. After all, everyone here is an important official of our country. His words were filled with righteousness. Just as everyone felt that Master Wei was about to kneel down and admit his wrongs, they heard him say with a hearty laugh, "Everyone, Qin Yun is the heavenly Qin prince. As subjects, it's normal for you to kneel to him." This meant that Master Wei had nothing to do with this matter. He was just a bystander. Therefore, he chuckled and urged the ministers to kneel down and apologize to Qin Yun. Chapter 47. Martial Spirit of Heaven. Master Wei's ability to steer by the wind could be said to be at the peak of perfection, causing all the ministers present to feel unhappy. The Duke of Yan was currently in a very foul mood. His outstanding grandson had been destroyed, and following that, he was going to kneel down and apologize to Qin Yun, who had destroyed his grandson. This was what it meant to move a rock and smash one's own foot. Not only did it hit his feet, it even smashed his own head. After calming down the grief and anger in his heart, he said slowly, "We are now certain that Qin Yun did not cultivate a demonic art, but this does not mean that he was not at fault. Back then, the Grand Preceptor was the one who indulged him in cultivating a taboo demonic art. Yan Qingyu had already been destroyed. If he knelt down to Qin Yun again, the Duke of Yan would become the laughingstock of the Tian Qin Empire. Regardless of the case, he could not kneel down and admit his wrongs to Qin Yun. Qin Yun saw that the Duke of Yan and a group of old officials had a similar attitude. He said angrily with a cold voice, "That means it's natural for all of you to cripple my spirit vein because you thought I cultivate demonic arts." When the Duke of Yan saw Qin Yun angered by his words, he could not help but feel delighted in his heart. He continued to use a mocking tone and mocked, "The reason we took your spirit vein away was to punish you for condoning the Grand Preceptor's cultivation of demonic arts. What's wrong with that? It's a good thing that your spirit vein was successfully merged with the Crown Prince's, allowing him to become a rare talent from the 6 meridians. It's enough to make up for the fact that he'll become the strongest emperor in the future." Qin Yun's fury flared because of these words. Flaming inner chi surged out from his body as he clenched his fist. The flames shimmered as it surged with fury. When the Duke of Yan saw this, he raised his head with a sneer on his face. "What can you do to me?" When Yang Shiyu saw this scene and felt Qin Yun's anger, she was infuriated. Her expression was extremely cold as she said coldly, "No matter what, all of you have to kneel down and admit your wrongs to Qin Yun today. The things that you promised before in front of me must be done. I don't care what mistakes he had previously committed." Her voice was filled with killing intent. The Duke of Yan had had enough. In order to prevent others from thinking that he was afraid of the little girl, he gave an angry sneer, "If I don't kneel, what can you do to me? Can you kill us?" Although none in my Yan clan has stepped into the martial Dao realm yet, there are still a few in the 9th level martial body realm. Yang Shiyu was a 9th layer martial body cultivator, but among the ministers here, she had to face several 9th layer martial body cultivators. They had been in the battlefield for a long time and had killed countless people. In terms of fighting experience, they were definitely more experienced than a 20-year-old girl like Yang Shiyu. The Duke of Yan looked around at the old subjects and the few teachers. He immediately felt more at ease. Those were his people. He raised his head proudly and continued, "I would like to see what you can do to us if we don't kneel and admit our wrongs." They had only failed to fulfill their promises and had done such things many times. It would truly be a disgrace if they were to kneel and admit their mistakes to Qin Yun. Suddenly, Yang Shiyu's tall and slender body trembled, releasing a silver light that was as cold as a cold moon. An icy wind blew over. Her white dress fluttered in the wind and her long hair danced in the wind. Her graceful figure bathed in the cold moonlight made her look noble and holy, like a proud and dazzling silver moon in the middle of the night. "If you do not kneel down and admit your wrongs to Qin Yun, I will not kill you. However, I guarantee that you will have to crawl out of Waling Wu Academy tonight." Her voice seemed to come from the depths of hell, causing everyone to feel a chill of fear assault their hearts. Qin Yun was standing beside Yang Shiyu. When he saw the scene before him, he was alarmed. His hidden vibration martial spirit trembled even more violently, as if it was infected by the state Yang Shiyu was in. Not only him, everyone present who possessed a martial spirit trembled in fear. The faces of the Duke of Yan and the rest were deathly pale. They had been intimidated by Yang Shiyu's imposing manner. Crash! Yang Shiyu's jade body suddenly emitted a piercing silver light. The bone-penetrating cold wave blended with the silver light and like countless twinkling silver ice crystals, swept out in all directions. After everyone opened their stinging eyes, they suddenly discovered that above Yang Shiyu's head was a clear and cold silver moon. The silver moon shone with a holy light. This was released by Yang Shiyu. Although it wasn't big, it was big enough to illuminate the entire Waling Wu Academy. Everyone was scared to the point of being spooked. They were tongue-tied and filled with terror. While they were shocked, their bodies also felt as if they were in an icy pond. The moonlight was very beautiful, but it was also very cold. It was just like the current Yang Shiyu, who had a peerless beauty, as elegant and refined as a fairy from the heavens, exuding a cold and arrogant aura that was natural to the extreme. Only the senior warriors could tell that this was Yang Shiyu's martial spirit, of the moon martial spirit. The moon martial spirit was recognized as one of the strongest martial spirits in the world. It was said that the one with a stronger martial spirit than the moon martial spirit was only a Yang martial spirit. These martial spirits were stronger than the legendary martial spirits and were known as the Heaven's Gift martial spirits. The moon had the power to activate the tidal power. At this moment, Yang Shiyu used the moon martial spirit to influence other people's martial spirits, causing them to surge like the tide. This was only one of the mysterious powers of the moon martial spirit. "Are you all going to kneel?" Yang Shiyu's clear and cold voice congealed into an ice-cold killing intent that enveloped down. The Duke of Yan and his men were so frightened that their bodies trembled and their legs trembled as they walked towards the martial stage. Previously, Yang Shiyu had also said that when Qin Yun possessed sufficient strength, she would tell him what her martial spirit was. Now, Qin Yun finally saw the martial spirit that Yang Shiyu possessed. He was completely stunned. After releasing her moon martial spirit, she could feel other people's martial spirits. She could clearly feel two extremely powerful martial spirits jumping behind her. There was only Qin Yun behind her. However, she knew very well that Qin Yun had the violet gold fire martial spirit. Therefore, she was surprised to discover that Qin Yun had a stronger martial spirit in his body. She suddenly thought of twin martial spirits. The Duke of Yan and the rest all fearfully walked up. Yang Shiyu also kept her moon martial spirit. Everyone immediately felt a lot more relaxed, but their hearts were still beating fast. They were still caught in the midst of their earlier fear, and their hearts were still beating fast. The Duke of Yan and dozens of old ministers and generals knelt in front of Qin Yun. They even kowtowed a few times as they spoke words of apology. Qin Yun looked at Duke Yan and temporarily vented his anger. He had suffered internal injuries and was trying his best to hold it in. However, because it was triggered by the moon martial spirit, he suddenly spat out a large mouthful of blood. When the blood sprayed onto the Duke of Yan's face, it caused everyone to feel alarmed. They all felt that Qin Yun had done it on purpose. The Duke of Yan was so angry that his entire body trembled, but he didn't dare to say anything more. Because they were not Yang Shiyu's match. The crowd saw that the Duke of Yan had vomited blood on him. They wanted to laugh but did not dare. They could only suppress the urge to laugh. Master Wei saw that this matter was almost over, and said, "Dean, your Walling Academy is really eye-openers, your students and teachers are both talented. Now, I would like to ask, in the Walling Academy, teachers cannot provide property to students, right?" Quote, "Everyone has seen Teacher Yang's strength. Although we don't know why she came here to be a teacher, she must be very rich." Qin Yun did not cultivate a demonic art and only had a single spirit vein. Yet, he was able to make such great progress in such a short period of time. It makes one wonder if Teacher Yang is providing him with abundant resources for cultivation. I would also like to request Dean to make the Walling Academy fairer. Otherwise, when we are competing, the resources will be taken away by Qin Yun. If the Martial Arts Academy disregards this matter, it will damage the reputation of the Academy and the future of all students. If he didn't say something, the ministers would hate him, so he made his move. Chapter 48 Talisman Crafting. Dean Zhong nodded and said, "This is indeed the Walling Academy's rule. If you violate it, all teachers and students will be expelled from the Martial Arts Academy." Yang Shiyu was a person who did things according to principle. Master Wei only dared to speak of this matter because he understood this point. A few teachers, who were familiar with the ministers, stood up and began chattering. They insisted that Yang Shiyu provided Qin Yun with generous resources. Many students also felt the same way. Those new students in particular also voiced their dissatisfaction with this matter. This was because whatever the competition was, Qin Yun would snatch the resources away. Therefore, expelling Qin Yun from the Walling Academy was of great benefit to them. As for the older students, who were at the 5th level of the martial body, they felt that Qin Yun was a threat. For example, they had been mocked during the Heavenly Lion martial meet. When the Duke of Yan and the others saw that Master Wei was unwilling to let go of this matter, they were secretly happy. If Yang Shiyu and Qin Yun were kicked out of the Walling Academy because of that, it would assuage their anger. Yang Shiyu said coldly, "I have never provided Qin Yun with any cultivation resources. My class only has him in it, so most of my time is spent teaching him martial arts cultivation and imparting to him all sorts of martial arts knowledge. That's it. Even if we believe you, we should not believe you." Master Wei shook his head and sighed, "If there is no solid proof, how do you expect everyone to believe your one-sided story?" Yang Shiyu's expression suddenly turned extremely cold. She did not know how to prove it because she herself could not understand how Qin Yun, who only had one spirit vein, could improve so quickly. She had only just discovered that Qin Yun still had another martial soul in his body. She could not speak of this matter. Just as Yang Shiyu was in a difficult situation, Qin Yun calmly said, "I know how to craft talismans. My cultivation resources were obtained by secretly selling talismans." "How is this possible?" Master Wei smiled. "Kuner learned spirit inscriptions from me since he was young and only knows how to craft talismans this year. But you suddenly know how to craft talismans. This is simply wishful thinking." Everyone was stunned by what Qin Yun had said. However, they found it laughable when they heard Master Wei's words. Wei Shuankan laughed loudly and said, "My inscription inherent skill is not bad at all. For me to need such a long time to learn it, what about you? HMPH, who taught you how to craft talismans? Teacher Yang shouldn't know either, right?" Quote, "I will make a talisman for you to see. Master Wei is an inscription master, and the inscription hall's master is here too." Qin Yun's expression was calm as he smiled faintly. "The grand inscription technique was imparted to me by the grand preceptor. I have learned it from her since I was a child, but no one knows it. If it wasn't for the fact that she was hunted by a group of bastards, I might have already been able to refine a spirit treasure by now." The crowd burst into an uproar. It had actually been taught by that evil woman. Actually, Many people understood why the Grand Preceptor was accused of cultivating demonic arts. After what happened that year, the Empress and the others reaped the most benefits. Qin Yun was not lying when he said that he had inherited the runes from the Grand Preceptor. That was because the runes he had obtained were from the 9 Yang Divine Spirit. None of them knew that the female Grand Preceptor understood inscriptions, but they knew that her medical skills were superb. The condition Yuan Yanying was suffering from back then was very strange. She was the one who cured it. Furthermore, she wrote down a few prescriptions to cure it. I don't believe it. Wei Shuanken loudly shouted, use my talisman paper and drawing brush to make talismans. If you can actually make it, I'll. Quote. You don't have to promise anything. Otherwise, like last time with the blue sword, you would try to take it back later, and now, Yan Yun has also fainted. Qin Yun chuckled as his voice was filled with mockery. Even if she doesn't faint, she can't ask me for anything else. Wei Shuanken was so angry that he did not know how to respond. Qin Yun looked so confident as though he could really craft talismans. However, many people still found it unbelievable. After all, it wasn't a simple matter to gain entry into the inscriptionist realm. Master Wei walked up to the martial stage and took out a small and exquisite golden carving knife. He said, if you can successfully make a talisman, I will give you this carving knife as a gift. This is a mid-grade spirit weapon. This carving knife was many times better than the one Qin Yun was currently using. It made him secretly feel excited. If you can't succeed, you can prove that Teacher Yang is secretly helping. Since you have violated the rules of the Hualing Wu Academy, you should leave the Hualing Wu Academy. Master Wei sighed. Also, I don't need to give you the 100,000 crystal coins that Duke Yan owes you. Sure, Qin Yun agreed readily. Wei Shuanken was a little anxious, but seeing his father being so indifferent, he felt reassured. Use my paper and pen. Master Wei took out a stack of glyph paper and a very old and dilapidated brush. Qin Yun said, I only use a carving knife to create talismans. Please give me a carving knife. To use a carving knife to forge talismans, one must have a certain level of skill. This request of his made Wei Shuanken sneer. However, Master Wei still took out an old carving knife and passed it over. Yang Shiyu felt that there was definitely something fishy going on, and just as she wanted to speak, she saw a person walk onto the stage. This person was an old man in a white robe. He had a white beard that extended to his chest and had a kind gaze. After he came up, he chuckled and said, I am the general manager of the Divine Inscription Palace, Duan Qian. The Divine Inscription Palace in this region of the Heavenly Qin Empire is under my control. This appraisal will be handled by this old man. Quote. Of course. Please, General Director. Master Wei smiled humbly and was extremely respectful to this elder. Chapter 49 Beginner Inscription Master. Duan Qian took out a paper talisman and a carving knife from his storage artifact and handed them to Qin Yun. He said with a smile, young man, if you can create talismans, you will be an elementary rank talisman master. Once you are able to make low-grade spirit marks, low-grade spirit artifacts and set up a spiritual array, you will be able to become a primary inscription master. Yang Shiyu was now much more at ease because Duan Qian was very interested in Qin Yun and he had no ill intentions towards him. If the Divine Inscription Palace could absorb outstanding talents, it would also be able to enhance the strength of the Divine Inscription Palace itself. The Divine Inscription Palace was spread throughout the 3 empires and a few countries, and it was not afraid of the imperial authority restraining it. It was an extremely mysterious existence. There weren't many people who understood Duan Qian, but they knew that he wasn't simple. After all, he was the head steward of the Tianqin Divine Inscription Palace. He must be very powerful, and based on Master Wei's respectful attitude towards him, it was clear to see. You can begin now. With us old fellows here, you can forget about trying to play any tricks. Duan Qian stroked his beard and laughed. Qin Yun calmed his heart. Although he still had some internal injuries, it did not affect the talisman crafting process. Now that he cultivated the bone meridian, he could condense the power of the blood soul more smoothly and quickly. Grabbing the carving knife tightly, he discovered that it was much better than his own. It was a spirit artifact level carving knife. After Qin Yun gathered his blood soul energy, he could easily infuse it into the carving knife. At this time, an extremely strange feeling appeared, as if the carving knife was a part of his body, connected to his flesh and blood. He secretly exclaimed in his heart, maybe it's because of the carving knife. It seems like a good carving knife can have twice the work with half the effort when carving. Suddenly, a bright red dot of light appeared on the tip of the carving knife, causing a group of older students to cry out in alarm. As long as he had a slight understanding of the patterns, he would know that they were the power of the blood soul. Once one was able to condense the power of the blood soul, it would mean one had half a foot in the path of inscription. Wei Shuenken's face was filled with disbelief because even he was unable to achieve this level of power. He could only condense the loose power of his blood soul onto the tip of his brush and draw talismans. Qin Yun Bechin drawing. The blade's shaft released a screen of light that enveloped the paper talisman on the table. When drawing the dark marks, he had to cover them to prevent others from stealing the precious spirit marks. His movements looked extremely skilled and he seemed to have reached a certain level of proficiency. Just by looking at it, one could tell that he had drawn quite a few times. Wei Shuenken was upset as he saw this. Master Wei's forehead was already starting to perspire. Previously, Wei Shuenken had said that he had put all his effort into learning the Tao of inscription and was not good at fighting. That was why he had lost to Qin Yun in the martial meet. At this moment, he was far inferior to Qin Yun in the Tao of inscription. He had been utterly defeated. Moments later, Qin Yun removed the screen of light. Although the paper talisman was blank, it was covered in a layer of the power of the blood soul and the dark mark was complete. Next, he would begin drawing the light marks. What he drew was a fire talisman and it was also the type that he was most familiar with. The carving knife was like a dragon or snake as it drew complicated patterns of flames on the talisman paper. The tip of the saber was smooth and natural, flowing naturally and smoothly on the talisman paper. When Duan Qian and Master Wei saw this cultivation base, they couldn't help but widen their eyes in shock. After the bright lines were drawn, the talisman slightly moved, stirring up a faint heat. The blood-red patterns shined with a brilliant red light and the mysterious flame patterns on its surface seemed to be pulsing, causing one to feel a kind of scorching heat. These are fire talismans, I have finished creating them. Qin Yun handed the fire talisman to the astonished Duan Qian. Duan Qian looked at Qin Yun in a daze for a long while before he came back to his senses. This fire talisman is very powerful. It is the strongest low-grade fire talisman I have ever seen. Duan Qian exclaimed, "You're a qualified elementary inscription master. Your spirit markings are very strong. Who taught you that?" "My grand preceptor." Qin Yun sighed gently. Qin Yun could really craft talismans. The students were shocked as they discussed loudly, causing the martial arts practice field to be in an uproar. A 15-year-old who was at the 5th level of the martial body realm and also a beginner talisman craftsman. Such talent might only be able to be compared with the Xiao Yulan of the Tian Shao Empire. However, the Tian Shao Empire had cancelled the engagement between Xiao Yulan and Qin Yun. Instead, she would be engaged to the new crown prince of Tian Qin. At that time, they would hold a grand engagement ceremony. The Duke of Yan and the other ministers all had dead expressions on their faces. They knew what this meant. Since Qin Yun was able to craft talismans, he definitely received great attention. The Divine Inscription Palace would definitely support him from the shadows. "Master Wei, did what you said before count?" Yang Shiyu coldly asked. Master Wei had said that he would give his carving knife to Qin Yun. "Of course I do. Such an outstanding young hero will definitely be able to make my carving knife shine. Qin Yun, you have to take good care of this knife." Master Wei laughed very heartily as though he was sincerely giving it to Qin Yun. In his heart, he used a lot of vulgarities to curse Qin Yun a few times. When Wei Shuenken saw this, he gritted his teeth as though he was grinding his teeth to pieces. The thing that he had been dreaming about had landed in Qin Yun's hands. Qin Yun took the carving knife and tested it. He realized that it was difficult for him to infuse the power of the blood soul into it, so he hurriedly asked, "Is there a special usage to it? Why can't I use it?" Quote, "Let me take a look." Master Wei hurriedly took it and revealed a slightly angry expression. "Qin Yun, what happened to you? To damage it right after you obtained it, what intentions do you have? This carving knife has followed me for so many years, you actually unexpectedly, deliberately destroyed it. Qin Yun and Yang Shiyu could not help but look at each other as they praised the old fox's methods. The carving knife was obviously damaged secretly by Master Wei when he passed it over. This was because Qin Yun had previously destroyed the azure sword, so everyone would definitely believe it. There were already a lot of accusations going around. In addition, after Master Wei destroyed the carving knife, Qin Yun could not use the precious knife. He did not want to see Qin Yun improve rapidly in the Tao of inscriptions because of the carving knife he had obtained. Let me see. Duan Qian laughed and extended his hand. Master Wei cursed at Duan Qian in his heart. Previously, Duan Qian's sudden jump had ruined his plans. Otherwise, Qin Yun would not have been able to successfully produce a talisman because of his simple trick. He could only smile and hand the damaged carving knife over to Duan Qian. It was indeed just damaged, but Qin Yun did not damage it on purpose. He never used his blood soul's power to nurture it before, which caused the damage. Duan Qian smiled at Qin Yun and said, "Qin Yun, how about this? This old man will give you another carving knife and leave this one to me to fix. How about that?" Qin Yun never expected that this act would once again ruin Master Wei's good fortune and help him. He hurriedly said, "Then I'll have to trouble the general director." Duan Qian took out a carving knife and handed it over to Qin Yun. He said with a smile, "This is a low-grade artifact and it's new." "Thank you, General Director." After receiving it, Qin Yun hurriedly thanked him. The low-grade spirit carving knife was completely able to satisfy his current needs. TL note. Since this chapter is all about inscription, allow me to give some details on the matter. Author has revealed that spirit mark, Zon mark and Dao mark are together called inscriptions. So basically inscription has three tiers, low to high, spirit, Zon and Dao. Author revealed that inscriptions has three grades, low, mid and high. But very soon he will reveal two more grade, top, peak and royal. So basically each tier of inscription has 5 grade, low, mid, high, top, peak and royal. Among them royal grade markings are very rare and special. How so? Royal grade spirit marks are superior to low grade Zon marks, even though Zon marks have very distinctive qualities that make them superior to spirit marks. Royal grade spirit marks consists raw power which makes them higher in quality than low grade Zon marks. But royal grade Zon marks are not even equal to low grade Dao marks. Dao marks are whole another dimension, even though royal grade Zon marks are very special and some of them are comparable to low grade Dao marks sometimes, but they are never equal to low grade Dao marks. Now comes inscribing. Inscribing process divided in 2 parts, drawing dark lines and drawing light, bright lines. Dark lines are the bread and butter of inscriptionists. They are invisible in normal circumstances after they are drawn, but they provide the real power or the core of inscriptions. Dark lines channel power to light, bright lines. If someone can expose the dark lines, then the entire inscription will be exposed and stolen. The light, bright lines are the marks that everyone can see, and by seeing them people can tell which inscription is it. They absorb the power from dark lines and execute the ability of the inscriptions. So that's it about inscription. Chapter 50. Senior Marshal Sister, please have some shame. The smile on Master Wei's face was somewhat stiff. Tonight, it was mainly to celebrate with his son before he dealt with Qin Yun in passing. However, he never expected it to cause Qin Yun's reputation to rise greatly. Furthermore, he had suffered great losses. Tonight's matter would soon spread throughout the entire Tianjin Empire and the surrounding countries would know of it as well. As for him, Master Wei and Wei Shuanken, they would definitely be laughed at. Of course, the Duke of Yan was in the most miserable state. His extremely outstanding grandson was destroyed by Qin Yun. However, this was a good thing for many nobles. After the banquet was over, Yang Shiyu pulled Qin Yun away. She wanted to quickly inquire about Qin Yun's other martial soul. Esteemed Empress, what should we do? Qin Yun has cultivated the bone meridian and can even craft talismans. He will become a basic talisman master and will be heavily cared for by the general manager of the Divine Inscription Palace. A eunuch's face was filled with anxiety as he said, Yan Qingyu has also been crippled. To think that this little bastard, Qin Yun, would cause such a storm. The Empress laughed coldly. So what if Yan Qingyu is crippled? I heard that his relationship with the Crown Prince is not good. We don't need to worry about Qin Yun now. As long as father steps into the martial Dao realm, the entire Tian Qin Empire will be ours. Then, we can find an opportunity to deal with Qin Yun. The most important thing right now is to do everything in our power to facilitate the marriage between the Crown Prince and Xiao Yulin. The country leader is about to break through. The old eunuch was pleasantly surprised. Soon, the queen smiled proudly. Her eyes were filled with malice as she said with a deep voice, Qin Yun, just you wait. Qin Yun had obtained a compensation of 100,000 crystal coins from the Duke of Yan and had been hurriedly brought back by Yang Shiyu. It was already late at night when they returned to the small courtyard house. Qin Yun's eyes were filled with shock as he said, Teacher, your moon martial spirit is really powerful. If I hadn't wanted to vent my resentment for you, I wouldn't have revealed myself. Yang Shiyu wrinkled her beautiful nose, moaned and said, On the other hand, you brat, you actually have another martial spirit. The corners of Qin Yun's eyes twitched. He never expected that the secret would be discovered. Isn't it? Yang Shiyu pouted slightly and poked Qin Yun's waist, causing him to jump up. I didn't mean to hide it from you. Qin Yun looked aggrieved. It's mainly because that martial soul is too strange. I'm worried that it will have a bad effect. Yang Shiyu took out the spirit pagoda, gave him a look and told him to go take the test. Qin Yun placed his hand on the tower and infused the power of the vibration martial spirit into the tower. The spirit pagoda suddenly turned black and began to shake violently. Black. A black martial spirit. Yang Shiyu was stunned. She stared at the pure black spirit pagoda for a long time before regaining her senses. I noticed it when I awakened my martial spirit. Because it was black, I was afraid that it might be mistaken for a demon or something like that. That's why I hid it. Qin Yun spoke truthfully because he truly had concerns in this regard. It is indeed a dual martial spirit. Moreover, it is the highest grade, the most mysterious black martial spirit. Yang Shiyu's face was full of joy as she smiled and said, It has a very strong vibrating power. This is the vibration martial spirit and it belongs to the legendary martial spirit. I will keep this a secret for you. Qin Yun heaved a sigh of relief. As long as it was not an evil martial spirit. He asked, Teacher, is a black vibration martial spirit rare? Yang Shiyu kept the spirit pagoda and said, The black martial spirit and the vibration martial spirit are both very rare. When both conditions are combined, it's even more rare. When you go to the Star Zonwu Academy in the future, you might be able to understand this martial spirit better. Can't the Tianshuan Martial Arts Academy do the same? I want to be with you. Qin Yun said softly. No matter what martial arts academy you can go to, the most important thing is to improve yourself. Yang Shiyu's expression was slightly serious, and then she asked about the cultivation of the vibration martial spirit. After she finished listening to Qin Yun's account of the situation, she even took out a booklet to record the situation. It seemed to be a very important matter. The fact that you can use your internal energy and spirit energy means that you've cultivated the Black Yang arts to the mastery stage. It seems you have hope of reaching perfection. Yang Shiyu secretly looked forward to this moment. She seemed to have gained a lot today, so she took the notes and hurried back to her room. Qin Yun was also very tired today. After returning to his room, he immediately went to sleep. In the morning, Qin Yun woke up and took a bath. He changed into blue tights and came to the hall. On the table, there was a note from Yang Shiyu, saying that she went to look for principal and it would take her a few days to come back. The Waling Wu Academy had always been managed by Dean Zhang. It seemed that the principal rarely appeared. Qin Yun was worried that Yang Shiyu would be transferred as he thought to himself, I'll go to the Divine Inscription Palace first. I hope that teacher can accompany me through this semester. He promised to Duan Qian that he would pay a visit to the Divine Inscription Palace to obtain the emblem of a basic-level inscription master, which would be much more convenient. The Divine Inscription Palace was in the Imperial City. Qin Yun had left early in the morning. He left the Waling Wu Academy and began his journey towards the Imperial City. The distance from the Waling Wu Academy to the Imperial City was over 200 miles. For those who could use movement technique, this was not too far away. Qin Yun casually ran for an hour before he had covered more than half the distance. This was the first time he had walked alone. The Empress wouldn't dare to deal with me now, would she? He was very vigilant on the road, but he did not encounter any assassins. Qin Yun had been running through the forest without taking the main road in order to avoid running into other people. Within the forest, there was a cool breeze blowing. It was extremely quiet. Qin Yun ran and stopped to admire the beautiful flowers. Suddenly, a strong gale swept over, causing a large part of the trees to shake. His expression changed slightly. Someone is fighting. Forget it, mind your own business, I'll take a detour. Just as he was about to move, a few men in black appeared with a shua shua sound. So powerful. Are they all in the 6th level of the martial body realm? Qin Yun was alarmed, but he was not afraid. He was already prepared for battle. Stop, he's just a passerby. The one who spoke was a woman. When the woman arrived, she exuded an overwhelming fragrance. She wore a black tight suit and had the appearance of a killer. Her oval face was extremely beautiful, her eyebrows were like smoke and her eyes contained 100 beauties. She looked extremely mature. Young lady, perhaps this person has already discovered what we were doing just now. If he were to expose us, we would be in trouble. A man in black said. The woman did not mind. She ruffled her long hair and smiled seductively at Qin Yun. She said, "Little brother, are you a student of Hualing Wu Academy?" "That's right," Qin Yun answered. The woman's enchanting looks made his heart shudder. What was astonishing was the long sword in the woman's hand, which was dripping blood. The woman was a head taller than him. She looked to be around 17 or 18 years old, and because she had just taken off her hood, her long, jet black hair was somewhat messy. She held the blood-dripped sword in her hand, a charming smile on her face. Within her charm was a bit of ruthlessness and a bit of heroic spirit. "I am also from the Hualing Wu Academy. Quickly, call me senior." The woman smiled coquettishly as she reached out her hand to pinch Qin Yun's face. She said with a laugh, "What a handsome youth. His body is also very strong. I want to touch him more." Qin Yun never expected the woman to be from the Hualing Wu Academy. Furthermore, she was very unrestrained. A hand had already reached into his shirt. "Senior sister, please behave yourself." His face turned slightly red and he quickly took a few steps back. Chapter 51 3 Zon Academy. So petty. If you don't want to give in, then don't allow it. The woman snorted. "Young lady." One of the black-clothed men seemed to be unable to look as he shouted with a deep voice. From his voice, one could tell that he was actually an old lady. "You can leave now. He is a student of the Hualing Wu Academy. If we kill him, the Hualing Wu Academy will investigate and find out. Our Meng family might be razed to the ground." The woman said casually. Anyway, he didn't see anything just now. "All right." After one of the men in black said this, he left with a shua sound. The other men in black also left with him. Qin Yun thought to himself. Indeed, there was a Meng family in the Tianqin Empire. The current patriarch of the Meng family was the demon lord of the Great Clarity Cauldron. "Little brother, where are you going?" "Going to the Imperial City." "I also want to go to the Imperial City, let's go together." The woman giggled and pinched Qin Yun's handsome face. "Senior, I'm going to the Divine Inscription Palace." Qin Yun said. "What a coincidence. I also want to go to the Divine Inscription Palace, let's go together." The girl shook off the blood from her sword and returned it to the scabbard. Qin Yun only nodded. Without a word, he ran behind the woman. "Do you want to know who we were killing?" The woman suddenly asked. "I don't want to." Qin Yun did not know much about the Meng family. They did not interact with the Imperial Palace, ever. "We are killing a demon beast. That monstrous beast has committed many evils, but it has a master. So, we lured that rank 7 monstrous beast here to kill it." Although Qin Yun did not want to know, the woman still said it out loud. The Meng clan often hunted and killed demon beasts and beastmen, which made sense. Qin Yun did not ask any further. Along the way, he remained silent. Instead, it was the charming woman who continued chattering. Her name was Meng Fei Ling, with 5 spirit veins and a platinum-ranked eagle martial spirit. She could be considered a genius. What made Qin Yun surprised was that she was only 17 and was already at the 6th level of the martial body. Furthermore, she looked so mature and attractive, like a ripe fruit. I've said so much, it's your turn. Meng Fei Ling adorably licked her lips, narrowed her charming eyes and laughed. Why don't you like to talk? You're really a little mute. Do you want me to use my tongue and teach you how to speak? Qin Yun's mind stirred slightly. Just as he wanted to say something, he heard a roar from outside. With a pout, Meng Fei Ling said angrily, Xiao Lang from the Tian Shao Empire has arrived. This bastard has been riding on a 7th level snow lion all day and has been scaring everyone. Sooner or later, I will kill that snow lion. This bastard has eaten a lot of people. Xiao Lang was actually here. Qin Yun was alarmed. Xiao Lang was the second prince of the Tian Shao Empire, but he actually appeared in the vicinity of the Tian Qin Imperial City. Meng Fei Ling seemed to know him well. Senior, what is he doing here? Qin Yun asked softly. We are here to participate in the Meeting of Heroes. The Meeting of Heroes is hosted by our Tian Qin Empire's Divine Inscription Palace. I'm on my way right now, Meng Fei said. Meeting. Qin Yun did not know about this matter. Only students who want to enter the 3 Zon Academy can participate. As Meng Fei Ling was speaking, a burst of cold air attacked them. In an instant, a snow-white great lion that was emitting cold air rushed in. On the snow lion's back was a thin and handsome man. He wore luxurious silver armor, and a golden sheathed sword hung around his waist. He seemed to have an extraordinary bearing. This person was the second prince of the Tian Shao Empire, Xiao Lang. Yo, you demon girl, I didn't expect you to actually have such a good mouth. You like this kind of little brat. Xiao Lang looked at Qin Yun and said with a lewd smile. He's at least not as annoying as you, and he's a lot more good-looking than you. Meng Fei Ling grunted lightly and pulled Qin Yun along. She increased her speed and leapt into the air. Stepping on a tree branch, she easily left Xiao Lang in the dust. This annoying fellow. Sooner or later, I'm going to kill him. Little brother, you're very good-looking and honest. I like people like you. The more Meng Fei Ling looked at it, the more she found Qin Yun pleasing to the eye. They quickly walked out of the forest and saw the imperial city's main gate not too far away. Qin Yun was secretly alarmed at Xiao Lang's strength. The Tian Shao Empire seemed to be much more powerful than Tianqian Empire, especially the crown prince and the royal daughters. Just Xiao Yulin alone was enough to suppress Qin Yun. Qin Yun asked, Senior, what is the 3 Zon Academy? Meng Fei Ling said, as long as you can reach the 6th level of the martial body realm before the age of 20, you can enter the 3 Zon Academy. After entering for a period of time, one would be able to participate in the selection of the gathering. After passing through the selection, one would be able to enter the Tian Zon Martial Arts Academy or the Star Zon Wu Academy or even the Ling Zon Wu Academy. The Meeting of Heroes was created by those 3 academy and the Divine Inscription Palace. In the blink of an eye, they arrived at the city gates that were dozens of meters high. Qin Yun looked at the city gates and felt mixed emotions. This was the first time he had entered and left the imperial city so freely. After entering the city gates, he acted like a child. When he saw the bustling streets, he became extremely excited. Upon discovering something new, he couldn't help but take a look. The main reason was that he had grown up in the palace and had not played properly in the city. From the looks of it, you rarely come out to play. I'll take you to the Divine Inscription Palace first. Meng Fei Ling smiled sweetly. Following that, she brought Qin Yun through streets of varying sizes. Moments later, they arrived at the west side of the imperial city. There was a large manor house there, and it was also far away from the busy city. Inside the manor, there were many tall buildings and palaces. When Meng Fei Ling and Qin Yun arrived, they could sense a cold aura. This was the Snow Lion's aura. Xiao Lang had actually arrived here before them. At the very front of the villa, there was a magnificent gold-red palace. This was the main hall of the Divine Inscription Palace. The main hall of the Divine Inscription Palace was located on 1,000 stone steps, shining with a golden light. It was luxurious and glorious. Meng Fei Ling brought Qin Yun up the stone steps and into the hall. The main hall was very spacious. It was decorated in a very simple manner, solemn and bright. There were many totems of ancient beasts engraved on one of the huge pillars. Xiao Lang was chatting and laughing with a group of young men and women who possessed extraordinary strength. There were 20 to 30 people here, all from famous sects of the three empires, Tianqian, Tianshao and Tianqi. They were all outstanding youths at the 6th level martial body. They would be in a competition. If they were truly outstanding, they would be selected and directly enter one of the Zon level martial arts academy. When Xiao Lang saw Meng Feiling and Qin Yun enter, he said with a sneer, "Which, you are still so willful to participate in such an important gathering of heroes and to bring along this little lover. Looking at his aura, he is merely at the 4th level of the martial body realm. You are truly fooling around." A lady dressed in a red dress also sneered, "This is the Divine Inscription Palace. Do you know that the head steward most hates people who don't show respect when they enter? He is a student of the Hualing Wu Academy. He is no ordinary person. Princess Tianqi, how dare you act so arrogantly in our Tianqian territory?" Meng Feiling scolded angrily, "Be careful. If you give me a chance, I will tear your stinky mouth apart." "Quiet, the head steward is here," a middle-aged man shouted coldly. Everyone immediately quieted down. The steward of the mysterious Mark's palace held a high position of authority, so no one dared to mess around here. When Xiao Lang saw Duan Gong come out, he pointed at Qin Yun and said, "Head supervisor, Meng Feiling has brought an idle person here. It can be seen that she does not value the inscriptionists at all. Please disqualify her." Chapter 52 Importance of the General Manager. Xiao Lang and Meng Feiling's conflict was not small. Otherwise, Xiao Lang wouldn't have attacked Meng Feiling the moment he found the opportunity. When Duan Qian saw that it was Qin Yun, he could not help but laugh. Qin Yun is not some idle person. He is the youngest elementary talisman crafter in our hall. He said to Qin Yun, "Your injuries healed so quickly. I thought it would take you a few days to get here." Duan Qian's words caused Xiao Lang and the group of 6th level martial body students to involuntarily look at Qin Yun. They were extremely astonished. They had never met Qin Yun, but his great name resounded like thunder in their ears. The person who defeated Yan Qingyu yesterday. Yan Qingyu was originally from the 3 Zon Academy, but because he was chosen by the teachers of the Ling Zon Wu Academy, he was recruited in advance. When they found out that Yan Qingyu had been crippled by a fellow called Qin Yun, they were completely shocked. Meng Feiling gaped in shock as she looked at Qin Yun with widened eyes. She had wanted to ask for Qin Yun's name too, but she was suddenly interrupted by Xiao Lang. She had then forgotten about it. She didn't expect that this junior brother was actually a young and influential figure. She glanced at Xiao Lang and the others before snorting softly, "You're looking down on me." Duan Qian took out an emblem and smiled as he walked in front of Qin Yun. He handed it over and said, "This is the emblem of an elementary grade inscription master. With this emblem, you can live in the Divine Inscription Palace at any time and entrust the main hall with the sale of talismans." This group of young people who were able to step into the 6th level of the martial body realm at such a young age and had a noble background were endlessly envious after seeing this situation. Especially Xiao Lang. He was originally the most eye-catching person here, but now compared to Qin Yun, he was much worse. Since he crippled Yan Qingyu, Ling Zon Wu Academy will not let this matter rest so easily. Xiao Lang let out a low snort. At the very least, it will be hard for them to take him in as student in the future. It's fine. Qin Yun crippling Yan Qingyu means that he is stronger than Yan Qingyu. If Ling Zon Wu Academy doesn't want him, then Tian Zon Martial School and the Star Zon Wu Academy might fight over him. Duan Qian chuckled. He doesn't have many spirit veins, otherwise, he would have been snatched away by the Zon rank academies a long time ago. Meng Feiling's face was filled with pride as she looked complacently at Xiao Lang and company. Then, she delicately said to Qin Yun, "My junior brother Yun is truly amazing. Can you give big sister a talisman that you refined? Let me keep it as a souvenir." Her naughty, jade-like hands were stroking Qin Yun's handsome face. "Of course you can. This is the fire talisman that I refined. Here." Qin Yun handed 2 talismans to Meng Feiling. It felt extremely comfortable to be touched by a soft, boneless hand. "Qin Yun, the spirit marks on your fire talisman are high-grade spirit marks. Even our main hall does not have many of them. Duan Qian exclaimed. This caused a few middle-aged men in the Divine Inscription Palace to be moved. The young 6th-level martial body cultivators' expressions also changed slightly. Every high-grade spirit mark was a priceless treasure. The might of the spirit weapon that was carved with it are much stronger than the mid- and low-grade spirit inscriptions. General Director, how can I forge artifacts? I don't understand. Duan Qian was proficient in this path. If he were to give him a few pointers, he would be able to avoid many detours. Duan Qian said earnestly, the refining process of the spirit weapon is extremely complicated. It is not something that can be grasped in a day or two. You must not ask for speed, you must build a solid foundation, otherwise, it will cause you a great deal of harm. How about this? If you have time, come here often, I'll personally guide you. I have to arrange for them to go to the meeting now. To be able to receive the guidance of the General Director, this was equivalent to receiving the guidance of a master. Master Wei's name was well known, but those aristocrats knew that Duan Qian's level was far higher than Master Wei's. Many rich and powerful wanted their descendants to learn the Tao of inscription from him. However, he refused because he did not care for them. But now, he valued Qin Yun so highly that all the disciples of famous sects present were at a loss as to what to do. If he were to meet a promising talent like Qin Yun, it would be best to befriend him immediately. However, Qin Yun's situation was extremely special. He had incurred the enmity of the Tian Qin Empress and the other high-ranking officials. If they befriended Qin Yun, they would offend most of the powers in the region. Therefore, they did not dare to act rashly. If they were scolded by the family, they could not afford to take responsibility. The only thing they could do was temporarily avoid enmity with Qin Yun. On the other hand, Meng Fei Ling did not have much of a worry. She had a very close relationship with Qin Yun. I'm going to participate in that meeting. Wait for my good news. After saying that, Meng Fei Ling followed Duan Qian. After they left, the Divine Inscription Palace became extremely deserted, mainly because there weren't many inscription masters. Qin Yun asked for a suite. It was on the top floor of the Great Hall. Inside the suite, there were a few rooms and a quiet secret room, as well as a large and small hall and bathroom. He began refining talismans in a secret room. Ordinary low-rank fire talismans can be sold for 200 crystal coins and the better ones can be sold for 300. As for the fire talismans that I refine, they can be sold for at least 400, right? When Qin Yun thought of the many crystal coins he could earn by selling fire talismans, he excitedly picked up a piece of talisman paper and began inscribing spirit marks. He had low-grade spirit artifact carving knives and he was even more adept at crafting talismans. In just 2 hours, he had managed to create 5 of them. Talisman crafting consumed a lot of inner chi and mental power, and each time he made a talisman, he needed to rest for a bit before he could continue. Qin Yun spent 8 consecutive hours crafting talismans. Although he felt somewhat tired, he could not help but smile happily when he saw the 20 fire talismans. If everything goes well, I'll get 8,000 crystal coins. Qin Yun was secretly delighted. If he relied on beast hunting to earn crystal coins, he would need more time and there would also be a certain risk. It's about time. Let's rest first. Lying on a comfortable chair, he took out the bamboo scroll inscribed with the 36 spirit marks, and looked at it. There were many types of spirit marks and there were many alchemy marks among them for forging purpose. If the alchemy marks were carved onto the forging hammer and then onto the forging materials, the quality of the materials would be higher. The alchemy marks could also be carved into the smelting furnace. The smelting would be faster and materials would be better. In his scroll, there were alchemy marks and they were of high quality. The most commonly used inscription on spirit artifact are the solid marks that would allow the spirit artifact to be even more sturdy. After that were the spirit marks with attribute, such as thunder, fire, ice, darkness, space and so on. He had all of these spirit inscriptions. The beast marks were also of great use. For example, the flying beast marks that were carved on the spirit weapon could allow the spirit weapon to fly. They were all rather profound. In addition, there were also illusions, poison, soul imprints and light healing inscriptions. These were extremely rare. I can first buy the furnace and the forging hammer in the Divine Inscription Palace. When my level increases and I refine them myself, I'll have to learn how to refine as soon as possible. Only then will I earn more from selling spirit artifacts. Qin Yun picked up a book that he had found in his room. It was a catalog showing the items for sale in the Divine Inscription Palace. A low-grade spirit artifact furnace costs 600,000 crystal coins, and even the cheapest forging hammer costs 400,000. That's 1 million crystal coins. Where can I find that many crystal coins? In order to become an inscription master, one needed a very solid foundation of wealth. Even if he could afford these things, he would still have to buy spirit marks. The most important thing was talent. Without talent, it was useless no matter how rich he was. I'll use a half-spirit artifact for now. Qin Yun was currently very poor, so he could only make such plans. He left the Divine Inscription Palace and ran onto the street. He spent 20,000 crystal coins to buy a furnace and a hammer. Chapter 53 Beginner Refiner. When Qin Yun left the Bamboo Woods house, he had left a note for Yang Xiyu saying that he had gone to the Divine Inscription Palace. He told her not to worry. When he was in the Divine Inscription Palace, he had been toying with the artifact forging process for 2 days when he saw his beautiful teacher arrive. Yang Xiyu was wearing a blue dress. This was a dress that Qin Yun found more beautiful. After entering Qin Yun's artifact forging secret chamber, she felt a wave of heat. She also saw the 1-meter-tall furnace. You started refining. Yang Xiyu was surprised. If Qin Yun was able to forge a spirit artifact, he would not have to worry about other forces finding trouble with his talent. Yeah, but I'm not proficient enough yet. Qin Yun nodded. He had just finished carving the alchemy marks on the furnace and forging hammer. Yang Xiyu picked up the forging hammer and saw the neat and beautiful inscriptions on it. She secretly praised it in her heart as Qin Yun's progress in inscribing the spirit marks had increased significantly. Her eyes were filled with encouragement as she looked at Qin Yun. She said with a smile, "There's no rush. Refining a spirit artifact requires a learning process. Teacher, why is the principal looking for you?" Qin Yun was more worried that Yang Xiyu would be transferred. Yang Xiyu put down her hammer, picked up a thunder talisman and softly said, "He wants me to go back to the Tianzan Martial School because he has some private matters to discuss with me. I will be back about a month. Just stay here for this month. Although there are no movements from the Yan clan, that doesn't mean that they won't come." Qin Yun threw a piece of metal into the furnace. With a look of worry, he said, "Teacher, you have to spend this semester with me." Yang Xiyu smiled sweetly and said, "I know. There is no one who can stop me from continuing to teach you. Oh right, your cultivation has risen too fast. It would be best if you could use this period of time to consolidate your stability. During this period of time, you should carefully study refining and wait for me to come back before you start to cultivate the Heart Sutra." Quote, the Heart Sutra was not easy to cultivate. Many people had been stuck here for a long time. It was possible to be stuck here for at least 1 or 2 years, or even more than 10 years. Yang Xiyu reminded Qin Yun a few things before hurriedly leaving the hall. Qin Yun could only work hard to learn artifact forging and increase his strength. In the future, he would be able to help this beautiful and slightly depressed teacher. He channeled his fire inner force into his hands, turning them red. Using his bare hands, he took out several red-hot iron pieces from the furnace and then folded them together. Then, he used his 2 hands to compress them together. He wanted to use the most basic of metals to forge spirit iron and then forge the ghost head saber. Qin Yun's forging process could be said to be very smooth. It was mainly because of his vibration martial spirit, which allowed him to use the explosive impact of the vibration to achieve twice the results with half the effort. Furthermore, the alchemy marks on the forging hammers were high-grade spirit marks. After infusing inner strength into the spirit marks, the forging hammers would release a strange and scorching energy, turning ordinary iron into spirit iron. Thousands upon thousands of pounds of iron were reduced to the size of a blade by him. This was just a rough embryo, very heavy and sturdy. Next, he would need to refine it. After tossing and turning for an entire day, he finally managed to pull out a ghost head saber. It's much better than the one I had before. It seems like it's because of the alchemy mark. A good alchemy mark can make the materials improve during the forging process. What kind of spirit marks should I inscribe? This blade may have been forged from spirit iron, but it's still not strong enough. At most, it's only a half-spirit artifact. He tried it out and discovered that his chi could be injected into the blade smoothly, which meant that he did not need to use origin gathering marks to increase the flow of his chi. This way, I'll be able to carve a solid mark. A solid mark is a spirit mark that is commonly used. What he had mastered was a high-grade solid mark, and it was the best kind. This is the first time he carved high-grade spirit marks on a weapon. This is a very challenging challenge. The origin gathering marks that he had previously carved are the very basic spirit marks. They are not difficult at all. Originally, he had planned to cultivate for half a day before starting to carve. However, thinking of using his internal energy and mental energy to the limit in order to consolidate his cultivation, he decided not to rest and continued to carve spirit marks while enduring his exhaustion. When he was carving the solid marks, he was very familiar with it from the start. When the carving knife moved, it was as if he was writing on a piece of paper with a smooth brush. He used the carving knife as his brush, the power of the blood soul as his ink. Late at night, Qin Yun completed the side of the blade. It went smoothly. He looked at the perfectly formed lines on the blade, and an indescribable sense of accomplishment made him smile. After resting for a moment, he continued to inscribe. Dawn came and Qin Yun raised his carving knife. He heaved a long sigh and said with a laugh, "It's a success." He had also reached the limit of his body, so he ended up lying down on the bed and falling asleep. Dong, dong, dong. At noon, someone knocked on the door, jolting Qin Yun awake. He got up and hurried to open the door. General Director. Qin Yun was surprised to see Duan Qian, who was dressed in a white robe. "You seemed to be busy late last night. What were you doing?" Duan Qian took a glance at the room and saw the furnace and the hammer. He was slightly surprised. "You're going to start refining." "I'm refining a half-spirit artifact." Qin Yun did not hide anything and grinned. After Duan Qian entered the room, he looked at the alchemy mark GS on the furnace and forging hammer and felt even more shocked in his heart. These alchemy marks are actually high-grade spirit marks and are extremely precious. "Show me your work." Duan Qian was slightly excited in his heart. Previously, Qin Yun had obtained Duan Qian's secret assistance. As such, he had a very good impression of him. Furthermore, he was in a high position and was not a despicable person and was trustworthy. He immediately took out two sabers. One was carved with origin gathering markings, the other was engraved with solid markings. Duan Qian frowned as he looked at the two sabers and carefully observed them. After a moment, he said, "The inscriptions are not bad. It's not easy at your age. However, there is still a slight flaw. Your solid mark gives off a weak feeling. It's a little rough on the skin, probably because your condition during the inscription process was not good enough. And the saber that is inscribed with the origin gathering marks is extremely good. It is full of essence, energy and spirit, and is also skillful enough." The origin gathering mark saber was Qin Yun's second attempt at inscribing. He had indeed kept it in a good condition. This was the first time he had come in contact with the forging and inscribing of artifact. Furthermore, in order to refine himself to his limits, he had to bear with his exhaustion and continue to carve it. All of this was seen through by Duan Qian, causing Qin Yun to feel endless admiration. "Of course, this level of yours is enough to catch up with many true inscription masters." After Duan Qian laughed a few times, his expression turned serious. "You'd better not expose too many high-grade spirit patterns in case someone covets you." Chapter 54. Since Duan Qian had already said so, Qin Yun would naturally take note of it. He was currently in a very good state. After eating a piece of dried beast meat, he felt even more energetic. Duan Qian also fulfilled his previous promise and began to give him pointers on refining. First, he needed some common sense, and then he needed to refine the quintessence of a half-spirit artifact. This was all based on his own experience. The lecture continued into the night as Qin Yun listened with rapt attention. His terrifying comprehension ability also caused Duan Qian to be shocked. For example, in some more difficult places, with just a slight explanation, he would be able to understand everything. "Grandpa Duan bestowed everything to me, this kid is truly grateful." Qin Yun bowed to Duan Qian and expressed his deep gratitude. Duan Qian laughed, "It's just a small matter. Moreover, you are also a talented person and you don't have the arrogance of other youngsters. You have an extremely good temperament and disposition. I have taught someone a few times before and not only has he been absent-minded, he has never thanked me for it. He even thought that was entitled to be taught by me, that he was a genius and that everyone should follow him." He patted Qin Yun on the shoulder and gave him a comforting smile. He continued saying, "In my eyes, you are more outstanding than all the so-called geniuses. For the past 5 years, it has been difficult for you to climb out of that bottomless abyss, which has allowed you to have a calmness that no one your age could have. Grandpa Duan, what happened to the group of heroes?" Qin Yun suddenly thought of the matter and was somewhat curious. "Same as usual. A group of bad-tempered so-called geniuses are going to come together and fight to the death." Duan Qian smiled. "This isn't something you need to be concerned about. You have to consolidate your cultivation before learning how to refine a complete spirit weapon. By going through the basics and stepping into the 6th level martial body realm, one would have sufficient spirit power to forge a true spirit treasure. A good half-spirit weapon was also very expensive. The 2 sabers that Qin Yun had forged were each sold for at least 20,000 crystal coins. A top-quality half-spirit artifact could even be sold for 100,000 crystal coins, for example, being refined from Class 4 beast bones and low-grade spirit steel. If one wanted to become a good refiner, one must also be proficient in the manufacturing of materials. Qin Yun helped Duan Qian forge Class 4 monster bones and low-grade spirit steel into pieces of low-grade bone steel. Each piece of bone steel was only the size of a palm, yet it weighed several dozens of kilograms. After over 20 days of forging, he had become more and more proficient in it. The low-grade bone steel that he forged was comparable to the ones that Duan Qian forged. Low-grade bone steel was the main material needed to refine a low-grade spirit weapon. Helping the Divine Inscription Palace paid him well. With his 20-odd days of work and selling a few sabers, Qin Yun had earned more than 100,000 crystal coins. He currently had over 200,000 crystal coins, which was already considered very rich for a 15-year-old. Next, I want to refine some good half-spirit artifacts for myself. With Qin Yun having a saber, he did not need to forge any weapons for the time being. He felt that the hammer was not good enough, so he decided to use low-grade bone steel to refine a good hammer. One needed to carve 2 different kinds of inscriptions in order to forge a true spirit artifact. In order to not interfere with another type of spirit marks while carving, he needed extremely strong mental power to control it. Although Qin Yun's spirit force was strong, it was not enough. Forcefully forging it would result in mental injuries. Therefore, he could only forge a half-spirit artifact to build a good foundation. It was much more difficult to carve spirit inscriptions on low-grade bone steel than it was on spirit iron. At this time, the purple gold fire martial spirit also played a great role. The power of the blood soul that was formed by the fire energy was extremely scorching. It could easily cause lines to appear on hard bone steel. Qin Yun had been taught by Duan Qian for nearly a month. His progress was extremely great, especially when it came to forging half-spirit artifact. It was already at an extremely high level. In order to keep the high-grade spirit marks that he possessed a secret, he would not sell the half-spirit weapons carved with high-grade spirit marks. The forging hammer and furnace are both finished. They're both forged from bone steel. Once I can carve the second type of spirit mark myself, I'll be able to turn them into true spirit artifacts. Qin Yun was filled with joy as he looked at the things he had painstakingly forged. With better hammers and furnaces, forging low-rank bone steel became much easier. He even planned to create an offensive half-spirit artifact and especially consult Duan Qian for that. After a thorough discussion with Duan Qian, he came up with a general idea and then hurriedly went back to refine it. After more than 10 days of fiddling around, Qin Yun had finally finished forging this semi-spirit artifact. It was an exquisite light gold lightning bracelet. There were lightning engravings on it that could store inner strength. At critical moments, he could use the wrist guard to unleash powerful thunder and lightning energy to attack and defend the body. Duan Qian took it over and played with it. He injected his inner force into the bracelet and after using the wrist guard, he released a violent lightning bolt. He praised, "This lightning mark bracer is very good. It is equivalent to the eruption of inner strength from a person who is at the 6th level martial body. Furthermore, they are lightning attributed inner energy. However, they can only be used once. One strike is enough to deal a fatal blow to the enemy." Qin Yun said with a smile. As long as he activated the lightning energy from the lightning mark bracer, all of the internal energy would be used up and would need to be replenished. Qin Yun had stayed in the Divine Inscription Palace for more than a month. Yang Shiyu had yet to return, which made him somewhat worried. "Grandpa Duan, do you know where teacher Yang comes from?" Qin Yun had always wanted to know more about Yang Shiyu. Duan Qian stroked his long, white beard and frowned. "It's hard to say, she's in a bit of a predicament. Since she didn't tell you, I can't say much about it. You have to work hard to improve yourself. Only by mastering powerful strength can you change many things." I will definitely work hard." Qin Yun did not question further. Yang Shiyu possessed a moon martial spirit, and with such outstanding talent, she definitely came from a prestigious family. Most of the disciples from the famous sects were unable to control their fate. For example, Xiao Yulin, the daughter of heaven, was restricted, and even her own marriage was decided by others. Thinking of this, Qin Yun secretly rejoiced that he had escaped from such a predicament. A middle-aged man knocked on the door and walked in. It was Duan Qian's follower. "The result of the group of heroes has been announced. Xiao Yumei is first, Xiao Lang is second, Qin Feng is third, Meng Fei Ling is fourth, Yi Chenlei is fifth. The top 10 are all accepted by the 3 Zon academies." The middle-aged man said. "They actually recruited 10 people at once. In the past, only the top 3 have been taken away." Duan Qian was a bit surprised. After thinking for a while, he smiled and said, "No wonder. This time, the foundation is really good." Qin Yun was alarmed. Xiao Yumei was clearly a princess of the Tian Shao Empire. She was actually number 1. From the name, it was definitely Xiao Yulin's sister. He knew Qin Feng, who was ranked 3rd, as well. He was the 2nd prince of the Tian Qin Empire, and the 2nd prince's mother was an imperial concubine. She was also the empress's cousin. Chapter 55 Hidden Dragons Martial Competition. Qin Yun was the 5th prince and Qin Tianyi was the 4th prince. The first prince had died when he was a few years old. The current crown prince of Tianqin was the 3rd prince. As the 2nd prince, Qin Feng did not have bad aptitude, he had 4 spirit veins. Qin Yun did not know what his martial soul was. Qin Feng had studied in a martial arts academy in another empire, so he did not know much about it. Among the top 5, there seems to be only one person who I am not familiar with, Meng Fei Ling. Duan Qian said. The 5th, Yi Chenlei, is also in the same group as them. Qin Yun suddenly thought of the Yi family. The empress was a member of the Yi family, but he had never heard of such a figure in the Yi family. Yi Chenlei possesses the Thunder Axe martial spirit, 4 spirit veins, and Qin Feng has the Snow Wind martial spirit. They went to the Tian Shao Empire's martial arts academy very early on. It's normal for you not to know them. Duan Qian said. They also went there to befriend the Tian Shao Empire's forces. Tianshao, Tianqin and Tianqi had good relations with each other, especially with the princes and princesses. What about Xiao Yumei? Qin Yun suddenly felt that the princes of the Tian Qin nation were too weak. She is Xiao Yulin's younger sister. This girl is only 14 years old and is already at the 6th level martial body realm. I don't know what martial spirit she has. It shouldn't be too bad. The young people of the Tian Shao Empire are incredible. Duan Qian sighed. He looked at Qin Yun and said with a smile, "You're about where you should be. You're much stronger than them. You have a high level of comprehension over the Tao of inscriptions." Chief Steward, the 3 from the Zon level martial school are already in the living room. They want to see you. They have something to discuss. The middle-aged man said. All right, I'll go right away. After Duan Qian left, Qin Yun came to a training room. Every day, he would arrange time for his martial technique practice. After learning that the Empress's power was growing stronger, he needed to work even harder to increase his strength. Qi explosion technique. He threw out a punch and it was accompanied by a surge of inner force that exploded outwards and caused a shockwave that shattered all the rocks in the surroundings. Chi explosion technique has reached the small success stage. Chi explosion is like a shock wave. If I use vibration inner force, I will definitely be stronger. Quote. Chi explosion technique was a low-grade Zon rank martial skill that Qin Yun rarely used in the martial arts competition. However, he had managed to cultivate it to minor accomplishment. The flame cloud steps had also reached the pinnacle of the small success stage. The biggest improvement was in the flame light fist. That was because he often came to the furnace to take out the scorching materials and used the flame light fist. Now that he had cultivated to mastery, if he were to use his full strength, his fist would be as hard as spirit steel and as hot as iron. In the blink of an eye, another month passed. In order to wait for Yang Shiyu to return from the Tianzan martial school, Qin Yun stayed in the Divine Inscription Palace and did not go anywhere. For the past few days, he had been forging low-grade bone steel. If he could train himself this way, he would also receive a decent reward. Every day, he would release his internal energy to the limit, so his bone meridian gradually stabilized and became extremely sturdy. Even if the inner strength were to violently impact the body, it would not injure the muscles and bones. Qin Yun had 2 inner yuans. If he were to instantly use his inner yuans to erupt his internal energies, his body would not be strong enough and would not be able to withstand a powerful eruption of internal energies. I should be able to cultivate the Heart Sutra now. Cultivating the Heart Sutra was extremely difficult. Rumor has it that a large amount of resources or a certain amount of fortuitous opportunity was required. Young Master Qin, Miss Meng is looking for you. An old man's voice came from outside the door. He was one of the stewards. Take her to my living room. After saying that, Qin Yun tidied up his attire and walked into the hall. Wearing a black tight suit, Meng Feiling was sitting on a chair with his long legs crossed, eating an apple. When she saw Qin Yun come out, she hurriedly stood up and said with a chuckle, "Greetings, Master Qin." "Senior sister, stop teasing me." Qin Yun gave a self-deprecating laugh. "Of course not, you are a genuine master. I wonder how much more powerful you are than that Wei Shuankan." Meng Feiling smiled playfully as she stuck out her tongue and tossed an apple to Qin Yun. "Senior, congratulations on entering the Zon-level martial school." Qin Yun took the apple and took a bite. "What's there to congratulate me about? You can also go in the future. I'll go to the Star Zon Wu Academy and you can come in the future. I'll continue to be your senior." Meng Feiling chuckled as she gently caressed Qin Yun's face with the back of her hand. Qin Yun sensed the wild fragrance emanating from his body and found it difficult to control himself. He chuckled dryly as he ate the apple. Meng Feiling saw him blushing, so she didn't tease him and asked, "Brother Yun, do you have any of those fire talismans? I want to buy it." "Yes, how many do you want? I can give it to you." Qin Yun felt that Meng Feiling was a good person. She was not afraid of the Queen's faction. She dared to be so close to him and she was also very strong. "Give me 20. I don't want you to give it to me, so I want you to sell it for as much as you can." Meng Feiling said with deep concern as she rubbed Qin Yun's head. 500 crystal coins for 1 piece, 20 pieces, for a total of 10,000 crystal coins. How about it? Qin Yun did not stand on ceremony with Meng Feiling. After all, she was a very straightforward woman. "Sure." Meng Feiling took out 10 purple coins and passed it to Qin Yun. Generally speaking, over 10,000 transactions would be settled in purple currency. "Senior, don't you have a spirit storage artifact?" Qin Yun saw Meng Feiling place the fire talisman into a bundle. "No, that thing is expensive. It's not for sale often and even Xiao Lang doesn't have it." Meng Feiling smiled sweetly and said, "If you can refine it in the future, you must sell it to me first. I will save crystal coins from now. I'll give it to you when the time comes." Qin Yun said with a smile. There were spatial spirit marks within the 36 spirit marks and that will allow him to forge a storage spirit artifact. Meng Feiling was extremely happy. She kissed him on the cheek, causing his face to blush slightly, making the smile on the witch even more beautiful. "Have you consolidated your bone meridian? It's going to be a bit difficult to start cultivating the Heart Sutra now. I actually took a whole year to get it out." Qin Yun sighed. It would indeed take a lot of time. Meng Feiling's eyes flashed. She suddenly thought of something and said, "Brother Yun, you can participate in the Hidden Dragon martial arts competition and enter the Hidden Dragon ranking. As long as you get first place, you will be able to obtain the Profound Heart Grass. The Profound Heart Grass will not only help you cultivate the Heart Sutra, it will also be of great help to you in the future. Hidden Dragon martial arts competition. Qin Yun knew nothing about this. After that, Meng Fei Ling told him about the Hidden Dragon martial arts competition. It was jointly organized by the 3 profound rank martial academies and was under the charge of the Divine Inscription Palace. The location was in the Divine Inscription Palace. Both the 6th and 5th level of the martial body realm were able to participate. Meng Fei Ling was also participating. Meng Fei Ling said, "Currently, the one ranked first is Xiao Lang, Xiao Yumei is second and I am 5th. It's been over a month since the competition and there's still 2 more months until the announcement of the results." Qin Yun recalled that a month ago, someone had suddenly come to look for Duan Qian. It was very possible that they were discussing this matter. I am only at the 5th level martial body realm, is that really possible? Qin Yun also felt that there was no hope. After all, the ones on the ranking were all very strong. If not, Duan Qian would definitely let him go. How would we know without trying? Meng Fei Ling laughed. You can participate if you want, but it won't matter even if you lose. Chapter 56 Codename Dragon Slayer. Being able to participate anonymously in the Hidden Dragon martial arts competition made Qin Yun secretly tempted. Even if he lost, it would be fine. He could just treat it as training. After Meng Fei Ling left, he immediately forged a black mask for himself. Carrying it steadily on his head, he headed for the Hidden Dragon Dojo. The Hidden Dragon martial field on the east side of the Divine Inscription Palace was also a very large building. In the arena, there were more than 10 battling platforms. The main battling platform in the middle was about 100 meters wide, while the other smaller battling platforms were about 60 to 70 meters wide. After entering, Qin Yun came to the registration counter. The registration fee is 100,000 crystal coins. An old man said. The registration fee alone was so high and only the children of prestigious families would be able to afford it. Qin Yun hesitated over whether he should sign up to participate. If he couldn't reach the front, then this 100,000 would be wasted. One must know that the warriors at the top of the Hidden Dragon ranking were all talented young warriors and it was extremely difficult to defeat them. Alright, I'll participate. Qin Yun thought for a moment and decided to sign up. Even if he didn't win, being able to exchange blows with all sorts of people was worth it. You want to participate anonymously, don't you? Code name. The old man took the 100 purple coins and asked. Dragon Slayer. Qin Yun immediately thought of such a name. The elder nodded. He made a badge for Qin Yun and had him bind it with blood. In order to compete, he had to use his badge and blood to verify his identity. He didn't want others to pretend to be him. Qin Yun took the badge and headed into the interior of the hall. He saw many names written on a wall of the dojo. Dragon Slayer was last. There was no top 10 name on this wall. The top 10 rankings were on a giant golden monument carved with a dragon. The giant golden monument was located near the middle area. It stood tall and majestic and was extremely eye-catching. The names on it also flickered with golden light. I wonder if I can enter the top 10. Qin Yun was stirred as he hurriedly tried to understand the rules. Those ranked below rank 100 could jump 20 challenges. That is to say, the person ranked 1000th can only challenge rank 980th. From rank 100 to rank 11, he could only jump 5 challenges and couldn't jump into the top 10. If he wanted to be number 1, he would have to defeat all the people in the top 10. Those ranked below 100 would have to come out within 2 hours to accept the challenge. After they were challenged, there would be a truce period of 6 hours. The 11 to 100 people required 4 hours to accept the challenge and the truce was held for 4 hours. The top 10 would have to accept the challenge within 6 hours and the truce would be held for 6 hours. In another 2 months, the Hidden Dragon martial arts competition will be completed. I must rush to the top of the list and enter the top 10. Qin Yun took his badge and went to register at the challenge board. He directly jumped 20 to issue a challenge. In the first round, his opponent was a middle-aged man at the 5th level martial body realm. With just 3 blows, he managed to knock the other party off the dueling platform. Following that, Qin Yun began the second round as he jumped 20 to challenge the other participants. If that person was in truce, then he would jump 19. As long as he continued to challenge others and win, his ranking would rapidly rise and he wouldn't be challenged by others. In a single day, he had fought 10 matches, and his ranking had risen by almost 200. In the Hidden Dragon martial field, many people were waiting for the challenger, waiting to see who was weaker so that they could make a move. If one could enter the top 100, they would be able to obtain 2 superior elemental elixirs. That was more or less the case. Therefore, entering the top 100 was the goal of many. I've finally been challenged because I'm only at the 5th level martial body realm. Although Qin Yun had 2 hours to prepare, he immediately went to accept the challenge. After he walked onto the stage, he saw that the person who challenged him was a middle-aged man with a beard. Dragon Slayer and Yang Han, begin now. Qin Yun did not use the flame cloud steps. This would reveal his identity. He could only use his internal force to run, but his speed was not slow at all, dodging Yang Han's palm strike in an instant. Yang Han did not expect the 5th level martial body in front of him to be so nimble. He was shocked in his heart. This was because Qin Yun had won many battles in a row. Furthermore, he was only at the 5th level martial body realm. He had also been the focus of attention of some people for a long time. "You're a bit too slow," Qin Yun said with a chuckle. Then, he quickly walked up and casually threw a punch at Yang Han. It landed on Yang Han's shoulder and sent out a burst of fire. Yang Han cried out in pain as he was sent flying. Qin Yun's punch from before had left many people astonished. The punch that seemed to come at him casually seemed to have some tricks up it. The boxing style was naturally smooth and the inner force was appropriately used. It was just like an old blacksmith who was skilled in forging iron. Earlier, Qin Yun had used his fist as a forging hammer. He took 2 steps forward and kicked out, sending a surge of inner chi that sent Yang Han flying off the stage. A martial body 5th level actually defeated a 6th level martial body. Furthermore, the victory was extremely easy. This caused quite a sensation. Those who came to participate in the Hidden Dragon Institute mainly came from the 3 empires and a few small and medium-sized countries. They were middle-aged and old. Most of them were at the 6th level martial body. They were all shocked to see a person at the 6th level lose to someone at the 5th level. After Qin Yun was challenged, he would receive a truce of 6 hours. He hurriedly returned to the Divine Inscription Palace to rest. He went to the door of his room and opened it. A familiar fragrance wafted into his nose. He saw Yang Xiyu inside, wearing a light blue tight-fitting clothing with a ponytail. She was dressed very simply, making her look elegant and refreshing without losing any of her charm. Qin Yun heaved a sigh of relief as he said with a smile, "Teacher, you're back." Yang Xiyu chuckled, picked up the cup of tea on the table and said, "I've been waiting for you for a long time. I don't even know where you've gone to. But tell me, where have you been?" "With Meng Fei Ling." Qin Yun hurriedly waved his hand to explain, as though he was afraid of being misunderstood. He said with a smile, "I'm not with her." Looking at his blushing face, Yang Xiyu smiled sweetly and said, "Why are you blushing? There's a girl walking so close to you, you should be happy. Grasp this opportunity, you aren't a little boy anymore." She smiled as she walked over and placed her hand on Qin Yun's shoulder. She pretended to be serious and asked, "I already said not to wander around. Where did you go?" Qin Yun took out a mask and put it on his face. He said with a smile, "Teacher, I will participate anonymously in the Hidden Dragon Martial Arts Tournament to see if I can obtain first place." Yang Xiyu had just returned from the Tianzan Martial School. Naturally, she knew about the Hidden Dragon Martial Arts competition and wanted Qin Yun to participate. She took over the mask and smiled playfully. Anonymous is good too. After all, there are too many people of the Empress. If they were to know that you are participating, they would definitely do something about it. Qin Yun said with some regret, "It's just that I can't use those martial techniques. If not, it would be easy to see through." Yang Xiyu returned the mask to Qin Yun and sat on a chair. She gently sipped a mouthful of tea and said, "That is not a problem. As long as you do not deliberately release your movement technique, you will not be seen through. Also because it's too obvious that the flame light fist cannot be used. She took out 2 small booklets from her storage spirit artifact and said, these are 2 high-grade martial skills. Chapter 57 Hanshin Style. After Shi Yu passed the 2 booklets to Qin Yun, she continued, this is the Hanshin style. According to the techniques in it, it can strengthen one's inner qi. If the cultivator is strong enough, he can shake gigantic mountains. This is the 1,000-horse palm. I heard that if it was learned to the point of perfection, combined with a cultivation at the 9th level martial body, it is like the power of 10,000 horses. Its might is like 10,000 horses galloping. It is quite famous among high-level martial arts. For Qin Yun, it was relatively easy to master a high-grade martial skill. It was the perfect time for him to learn it. With his perception of martial arts, he would be able to master the initial stage within a month. The Black Yang arts was also a high-grade art. He had learned it to the great perfection stage. Yang Shiyu suddenly thought of the fact that she had not taught Qin Yun for 2 months and had immediately entered the state of a teacher. Her pretty face suddenly turned serious as she said, let's begin learning now. Qin Yun nodded and as usual, listened attentively to Yang Shiyu's explanation. After 6 hours, Qin Yun had reached the entry stage of proficiency of these skills. Yang Shiyu was only slightly surprised. She was no longer surprised by Qin Yun's heaven-defying perception. When the time for truce came, there would be a challenge. Qin Yun immediately headed to the Hidden Dragon martial field. The moment he entered the martial arts arena, Qin Yun began his challenge to raise his ranking. He could also try out the battle techniques that he had just learned. Yang Shiyu also came to the Hidden Dragon dojo. She wore a robe and mask, concealing her identity. In the Hidden Dragon martial field, there were also a lot of people who wanted to conceal their identities. Duan Qian had just learned of Qin Yun's anonymous visit to the Hidden Dragon martial arts competition. This was what Yang Shiyu had told him in order for him to conceal Qin Yun's identity at a critical moment. Qin Yun challenged a square-faced middle-aged man in his 40s who was at the 6th level martial body. He was dressed decently and it was obvious that he was very wealthy. At the beginning, the square-faced man had performed an excellent movement skill. Like a dragonfly touching the water, his toes tapped the water a few times. After that, he leapt above Qin Yun. Raising his thigh, he cleaved down fiercely like an axe. His perfectly straight and powerful thigh looked like a mountain axe as it cleaved through the air, emitting a whistling sound as it came sweeping down. Such smooth attacks caused many of the audience to clap and cheer. Qin Yun quickly moved a few meters away. The square-faced man had also expected him to move as he changed his agile body in midair. Like a fish leaping in joy, he caught up to Qin Yun, who was fleeing. His thigh plummeted as though a giant axe was chopping down on a tree. 1,000-horse palm. Qin Yun harumphed in his heart. He raised his palm and struck at the thigh that looked like it was being chopped down. A gale of palm wind stirred as the roar of a healthy horse whistled through the air. Bang! The two forces collided, causing a muffled blast. The confident square-faced middle-aged man was caught off guard as he was flipped upside down by Qin Yun's palm strike. He fell off the stage in a very comical manner. Dragon Slayer victorious, the referee shouted. He was at the 6th level of the martial body realm, but he had actually lost to an anonymous martial artist called Dragon Slaying. This caused a small sensation. Those who were ranked lower paid close attention to Qin Yun. Although Qin Yun had won, he did not feel satisfied. Therefore, he continued challenging those ranked in the top 10. He didn't challenge those at the front because he needed to practice martial skills. That way, he could challenge even more people. Just like that, he fought more than 10 matches in a row without losing. At this time, there were also people who recognized his martial skill and began to discuss about it. From the discussions of the crowd, Qin Yun knew that the 1,000-horse palm was a high-grade battle technique that was difficult to master. The 1,000-horse palm was sold in many places for around 200,000 to 300,000 coins, but it wasn't too expensive. Some small families could afford it, but it was too difficult to learn, so very few people would buy it. Qin Yun used the 1,000-horse palm to attack as well. He wanted to use the Hanshin style, but there was no suitable opportunity. The Hanshin style was mainly used against people with extremely strong defense. He had won more than 20 matches in a row and was ranked 800th. After being challenged, he finally obtained 6 hours of truce time. During his rest time, he hurriedly returned to his suite in the Divine Inscription Palace and continued practicing martial skills. In the spacious practice room in the suite, he fought with Yang Shishi. This could train him even more and allow him to release his chi when he was using martial arts. Yang Shiyu said, "You need to hurry up and enter the top 100. The people that are ranked in this range all have relatively high standards." 4 hours after her battle with Qin Yun rested the remaining 2 hours. In just a few days, Qin Yun had constantly gone through the challenges. Along the way, he had won a series of victories. He had finally reached the 101st place. Now, he was going to start challenging the 100th place. It had been many days since anyone had made it into the top 100. Therefore, the moment Qin Yun challenged the 100th rank of the Hidden Dragon rank, it immediately attracted the attention of many people. On the second floor of the Hidden Dragon martial field, there were many luxurious suites. Only the very rich could afford to stay there. Most of the top 10 were in the second level of the Sky Suite. Interesting. A guy in the 5th level martial body actually beat up from the very end to the 100th in a few days. A tall and sturdy young man with a stubble on his face said. His voice was rough like thunder. He was Yi Chanlei, who was ranked 4th. This fellow can't be Qin Yun, right? She was the princess of the Qi Kingdom, and her name was Qi Shui. She was ranked 7th on the Hidden Dragon ranking. Xiao Lang said disdainfully, Qin Yun is best at using the Flame Cloud Steps and Flam Li Fist. He does not have those. Of course, even if Qin Yun were to come, he would definitely not be our match. If Yan Qingyu were to seriously compete with Qin Yun, he would not end up in such a state. Qi Shui looked at a handsome young man drinking wine and smiled tenderly. Qin Feng, aren't you going to watch the match? Pay some attention. Qin Feng glanced at Qi Shui indifferently and looked quite proud of himself. He said, nothing much to look at. You're only in 7th place right now. When do you get to 5th place? The 6th is your princess, Qi Mei Lian, and the 5th is Meng Filing. This bitch, Qi Mei Lian. When I get better, I'll definitely hit her down and make her lose very badly. Quote. Qi Shui gritted her teeth and said, as for the demon woman, Meng Fei Ling, that's a little difficult. In the group competition, I was almost killed by her. Qin Feng continued drinking, looked at Xiao Lang and asked, have you talked to Yu Mei yet? With her personality, she's definitely going to get 1st place. On the Hidden Dragon rank, Xiao Lang was ranked 1st while Xiao Yu Mei was ranked 2nd. Xiao Lang sighed helplessly and cursed a few times. He said with a bitter smile, this girl is really a headache. Although she isn't as cold as her elder sister, she has the same bad temper as her elder sister. If she wants to challenge me, I might as well not fight. If the top 10 were to fight, it would definitely cause a huge ruckus and attract the attention of others. Needless to say, the duels between the 1st and 2nd rankers. After an explosion, a cry of surprise came from outside the window. It's the Hanshin style. Yi Chanlei looked down at the battling platform and was slightly shocked. The person fighting Qin Yun was a 2.5-meter tall middle-aged giant. He had a cultivation base at the 6th level of the martial body. The martial arts he cultivated was iron cloth robe, which allowed his body to become extremely sturdy. Chapter 58 Preparations for the Top 10. Many people believed that Qin Yun would be completely suppressed by the giant from the beginning. Unexpectedly, after he displayed the Hanshin style, he released an aura that was not inferior to the giant's. The giant was sent flying in 2 moves. After using the Hanshin style, Qin Yun saw the other party as a mountain. He saw himself as a giant that was as tall as a mountain and wanted to push the mountain forward. It was as if he were pushing a mountain. This was the power of the Hanshin style. After the giant stood up, Qin Yun immediately flew over. He struck out with another Hanshin style, sending the giant flying with a blast of air. Bang! The giant's huge and heavy body heavily fell under the battling platform, smashing the thick stone tiles on the ground. Dragon Slayer victorious, promotion to rank 100. Qi Shui looked at Qin Yun, who had walked down from the dueling platform. She could not help but frown and said, this fellow entered the top 100 very easily. Even I would not be able to knock the big bloke off the stage that easily. Yi Chen-lei looked very serious. That is the Hanshin style. What is this guy's background to be able to master such unorthodox martial arts? He must have been learning it for many years. Xiao Lang laughed. You are a big guy. Are you afraid of this kind of martial arts? Yi Chen-lei did not think so and said with a sneer, him. He's still too young. I have the Thunder Axe martial spirit. Once I use my inner force, I can release lightning. If he wants to get close to my body, he will definitely be struck by lightning. Just now, Qin Feng went out. After he pushed open the door and entered, he said with a trace of doubt, I just received news that the masked man lives inside the Divine Inscription Palace. Qi Shui exclaimed, could it really be Qin Yun? Qin Feng shook his head and said, the masked man is not Qin Yun. Yang Xiyu had returned from the Tianzan Martial School and had gone to the Divine Inscription Palace to bring Qin Yun with her. When my men went to the Divine Inscription Palace, they found out that the masked man is a blacksmith from the Divine Inscription Palace who specializes in manufacturing low-grade bone steel. No wonder he's so mysterious. Since the fellows in the Divine Inscription Palace have always been like this, there's nothing strange about it. If it's not Qin Yun, I won't have to report to the clan. Yi Chen-lei calmed down and sat down to drink. In the mysterious pattern palace, in a training room, Yang Xiyu was engaged in a battle with Qin Yun. However, Qin Yun was exhausted after training for more than 2 hours. As for Yang Xiyu, she did not even have a chance to breathe. She poured a cup and handed it to Qin Yun. She said, there are still about 40 days before the announcement. There's still plenty of time. You'd better do your best to improve yourself in this period of time so that you can be number one. Qin Yun took a sip of the purple liquid. It was extremely hard to drink, but because it was given to him by Yang Xiyu, he could only grit his teeth and drink it. When Yang Xiyu saw Qin Yun's bitter face, she could not help but laugh like a silver bell. She said, indeed, it's a little hard to drink. This is something that can quickly recover one's stamina. Indeed, not long after Qin Yun drank it, his body miraculously recovered its strength. Then, he continued to spar with Yang Xiyu and only stopped when he was completely exhausted. Qin Yun sat on the ground and leaned against the wall. As he drank the unpleasant wine, he said with a look of regret, Teacher, the 6th-style wind-slaying arts is very powerful, but I am unable to use it, which greatly limits my power. Back then, he had relied on this technique to defeat Yan Qingyu. If he couldn't use it, his strength would be greatly reduced. Yang Xiyu lowered her head in thought. After pondering for a moment, she suddenly said, the Wind Slayer art is a saber art, let me try, see if I can change it to suit a hammer. You'll even be able to use it to forge artifacts and it will be of some help to you in the future. Qin Yun was delighted and said with a smile, Teacher, you are truly a martial arts master. Your comprehension of martial arts seems to be much faster than mine. You are like a grandmaster when you guide me, and you are so beautiful. Yang Xiyu laughed coquettishly. You little brat, don't be glib-tongued. I only understand martial arts quickly, but I can't comprehend the essence of it. This is mainly the foundation that I had accumulated when I was young, by flipping through large amounts of martial arts techniques. You stay here and practice. I'll make you a new hammer technique. When she entered the room, she needed to analyze the cultivation technique in a quiet environment. In order to narrow the gap between him and Yang Xiyu, Qin Yun needed to work even harder. After cultivating for more than 2 hours, he suddenly received a notification. Someone had come to challenge him to a battle within 4 hours. I just entered the top 100 and someone has already come to challenge me. Qin Yun also wanted to see who had challenged him. More than 2 hours later, Qin Yun was walking on the path towards the Hidden Dragon martial arts field. While he was on the road, a middle-aged woman walked over and handed him a piece of paper. He opened it and saw that it was written for him by Meng Fei Ling. Brother Yun, I've been closely watched, so I won't meet you anymore. I don't want to expose your identity, so I wish you well. After he finished reading this beautiful line of characters, he held it tightly in his palm and released a burning flame. His opponent was standing on top of it. It was an old man, who was also a martial artist at the 6th level martial body. He seemed very confident, wearing a clean set of white clothes and rolling up his sleeves. Qin Yun quickly walked up the battling platform as the referee shouted for the battle to begin. Look at this. The old man in white was extremely polite, but his actions were not polite at all. These claw techniques were both fierce and ruthless. Their attacks were just like a wolf's, causing many people to feel fear in their hearts. Qin Yun was somewhat surprised. He never expected to encounter such a powerful opponent so soon. The white-clothed elder's speed was extremely fast. Regardless of whether it was the speed of his attacks or his running speed, they were both faster than Qin Yun. In the luxurious suite on the second floor of the Hidden Dragon Martial Field, Xiao Lang held a cup of wine and smiled faintly. Attack like a wolf, speed like the wind. This is Old Man Lang's most outstanding point. Yi Chenlei said, the old wolfman is Yu Mei's follower, right? So powerful. Xiao Lang smiled. Yu Mei, for this girl to let her follower participate in the Hidden Dragon martial arts competition, she must want him to enter the top 10. At that time, if you can't even beat her lackeys, you'll be laughed at. What a playful girl. Qin Yun, who was on the battling platform, did not know that Old Man Lang was Xiao Yu Mei's follower. He only knew that the other party's strength was extraordinary and that he had rich combat experience. After more than 100 moves with the old man, he was still unable to see through the other party's martial spirit. Until now, he had been completely suppressed and could only avoid the enemy's swift and fierce attacks. Could this old man have a dual attribute martial spirit, the Wind Wolf martial spirit? Qin Yun made guesses in his heart. Dual attribute martial spirits were more common, just that there were two different types of martial spirits. The Hanshin style could be used to deal with martial artists who were slow in movement and strong in defense. However, it was impossible to use it against such an agile martial artist. Qin Yun was extremely puzzled. He could not use the Fire Cloud steps, nor could he use the Wind Slayer arts. If not, he would definitely be able to defeat the other party in a surprise attack. The Wind Slayer art was a martial art that countered wind. He had attacked more than 10 times but had never put any pressure on his opponent. The main reason was that the opponent was too fast and could always dodge. That's the only way. Qin Yun hardened his heart as he accumulated a surge of inner qi. He wanted to use the Qi Explosion technique. Chapter 59 Sixth Form of Forging Dragon. The Qi Explosion technique was Qin Yun's trump card. However, even if he used it directly, it might not be able to hit the target. That was because the old wolfman was too fast. The old wolfman struck again. A pair of wolf paws clawed at him. He had thought that Qin Yun would dodge, but he never expected that Qin Yun would actually strike out at him directly. Thousand Horse Palm. Everyone was alarmed by Qin Yun's actions as they cried out in alarm. Does this kid want to die? To use your bare hands against my wolf claws? The old wolfman was startled as he reached out with his two powerful claws. The old man's nails were as sharp as knives. If he was caught, his skin would definitely be ripped open. No one wanted their body to be caught. Just as Qin Yun's palm was about to make contact with the wolf claw, it suddenly howled as it erupted with a sonic boom. The blast from the explosion was accompanied by the force of 10,000 horses, causing the old man's arms to crack noisily. Ah! Elder Wolf cried out with a pain. The bones in his arms and hands were broken and his thin body was also blown away by the waves of air. It was as if he was sent flying by a gust of wind. The place where he landed was a few dozen meters away from the battling platform. The pain in his arms frightened him slightly. If not for his rich experience, his arms would have been destroyed just now. He spoke to himself, I was careless. This kid's instantaneous explosive power is really terrifying. The 1,000 Horse Palm contains another martial skill, which causes the inner force to explode. What martial skill is this? Qin Yun accumulated the internal energy from his dual inner yuan. When combined with the explosion, the power was indeed terrifying. Fortunately, his bone meridian had been stabilized and he could withstand the qi explosion of the inner force. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to use it. Xiao Lang, who was in the luxurious suite, exclaimed, the old man Lang actually lost to a person at the 5th level martial body realm. Qi Shui snorted, the masked man is really not simple. After he entered the top 100, he did not continue to challenge anyone. What the hell is he doing? Suddenly, the door was pushed open. A young lady with a ponytail and a light blue dress walked in. She wore a mask on her face and her clear and beautiful eyes seemed to be filled with anger. The girl asked, "What is the background of the masked man?" "He actually injured old Wolfman." Quote, "You may, he's a blacksmith in the Divine Inscription Palace." Qin Feng, who had been drinking, immediately stood up and walked over. This young girl was Xiao Yumei. Qin Feng's drunken eyes suddenly lit up. Looking at the young girl, he revealed a bright smile and said, "You may, the masked man is only a blacksmith. If he dares to enter the top 10, I will definitely teach him a lesson." Yi Chenlei was a bit dissatisfied. He said in a deep voice, "That will have to wait for him to come up. Even if he does come up, it will not be your place to teach him a lesson." Qin Feng laughed. "That's right, I am in 3rd place and you are 4th. If he were to fight, he would have indeed met you first. But you still have to be careful, this guy knows the Hanshin style." Quote, Qi Shui was the most unhappy because neither Qin Feng nor Yi Chongali had ever been competitive for her. Now that Xiao Yumei had arrived, they became like this. Xiao Yumei seemed to be used to it. After asking about the details of the masked man, she left. Qi Shui said, "Yumei seems to be very concerned about this masked man." Xiao Lang laughed loudly, "That masked man must be out of luck. Yumei wants him as a follower." After Qin Yun returned to the Divine Inscription Palace, he entered the cultivation room to cultivate. Today, when he fought against the old Wolfman, his harvest was plentiful. He was able to suddenly gain wisdom and combine the Qi explosion skill with the 1,000-horse palm. He recalled the previous competition and thought, movement skill is my weakness. It seems that I can only practice harder. Using inner force to run around will help me speed up a little. Then, he ran back and forth in the training room and started to practice running. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. Qin Yun was extremely puzzled because no one had come to challenge him in the past 2 days. All the warriors in the Hidden Dragon martial field were not stupid. They all saw that he was strange, so they directly skipped him and went to challenge the others. Suddenly, Yang Shiyu came out of her room and asked, "How have you been these past 2 days? How many matches have you fought?" Quote, "I only fought once." Qin Yun recounted the process of his battle with the old Wolfman to Yang Shiyu. After Yang Shiyu heard this, she took out 2 pages and proudly said, "I have successfully changed the 6-style Wind Slayer arts to hammer technique and I can also use my fists to execute it." Qin Yun, who was sitting on a stool, jumped up abruptly. He was extremely excited as he said with a laugh, "Teacher, you are awesome. For it to be completed so quickly, I thought it would take at least a month." Yang Shiyu's face was full of pride and she chuckled, "You're underestimating me too much. This is only modifying the existing martial skills. I also have some other martial skills, so my progress can be considered to be quite smooth." With that, she put on a serious expression and shouted, "It's time for class. Be serious." Qin Yun hurriedly sat down and nodded. This hammer technique is called the 6-style Forging Dragon. It is similar to the 6-style Wind Slaying and it is mainly used in combination with Fire Inner Force. It should be possible to use a bit of Vibration Inner Force. Following that, Yang Shiyu was extremely serious as she guided Qin Yun in learning the 6-style Forging Dragon. Qin Yun held the forging hammer and began swinging it in the training room. Yang Shiyu watched from the side. If she found any inadequacies, she would improve on it. If he practiced for 2 days, he would be able to use his inner force, which was equivalent to the initial stage. The main reason was because he had a good grasp of the 6-style Wind Slayer arts and the 6-style Forging Dragon was improved from the 6-style Wind Slayer, so he had a similar understanding of them. Furthermore, he had Yang Shiyu to guide him from the side. Qin Yun and Yang Shiyu began training in the training room. After more than an hour, he nodded in satisfaction. The effect of using fists will be weaker but it'll be fine. In order to test out the might of this hammer technique, he had specially forged a piece of low-grade bone steel. Previously, he would need 6 hours to complete it. Now, he only needed a bit more than 2 hours, which was a full half of the time needed to complete it. Qin Yun praised, "Teacher, with this hammer technique of yours, I'll have a more convenient refining session in the future." Yang Shiyu rubbed his head, sweetly smiled and said, When you can refine a spiritual weapon, I will have you customize it for me. No problem. Qin Yun smacked his chest and said with a smile. Yang Shiyu took out a towel and helped wipe his sweat and gently said, "First, you go rest, then you can go up. Don't care too much about being number one. Your own body is the most important thing. You have to remember that you also have the status of an inscription master." Qin Yun understood the meaning behind Yang Shiyu's words. She was worried that someone would torture him like Yan Qingyu. Yang Shiyu's heart ached when she saw this. She did not want this kind of thing to happen again. Chapter 60 Invitation from the Princess. Qin Yun had a good night's sleep. After he woke up, he saw a note on the table in the hall. It was left behind by Yang Shiyu, who said that she went to the Hidden Dragon Martial Field. After he finished reading the note, his fighting spirit soared as he said resolutely, "It's time to enter the top 10. I have to do my best to get first place. It's impossible for teacher to protect me for the rest of her life. Plus, something must have happened to her and she might be leaving soon." Qin Yun could tell that Yang Shiyu had been worrying heavily ever since she came back from the Tianzan Martial School. She was trying her best to cover it up. He quickly rushed to the Hidden Dragon Dojo and immediately issued a challenge. For the past few days, he hadn't made a single movement. It was very thought-provoking. Now, the martial practitioner codenamed Dragon Slayer had once again issued a challenge. This matter had quickly spread. Qin Yun stood beneath a battling platform, waiting for his opponent to arrive. Watching from the side, no one dared to approach him, as if they were scared by his thick fighting intent. At this moment, the old man whom he had previously defeated walked over. "Sir, this is an invitation from my young lady." The old wolfman handed Qin Yun a letter with a respectful expression. Qin Yun was alarmed. This old wolfman with extraordinary strength actually had a master. After he opened the letter, he saw a few extremely beautiful lines of words. The main point was that because he was powerful, she wanted to hire him as a bodyguard or something, and the reward was very generous. The person who wrote this letter was Xiao Yumei. He looked at the old man and said in a hoarse voice, "I appreciate your young lady's kindness." At such a young age, Xiao Yumei was already at the 6th level martial body realm. At this moment, she was trying to recruit talents and expand her power. Many people were willing to follow her, but Qin Yun rejected her offer. This slightly surprised the old man and he said, "Please consider carefully, this is a rare opportunity." Qin Yun only nodded and did not say a word. Not long after the old man left, a handsome young man in white walked over, exuding a cold and arrogant aura. The person who came was the second prince of Tianqin, Qin Feng. Qin Yun immediately recognized Qin Feng. "You read that letter, why didn't you agree to her request? Quickly promise her." As soon as Qin Feng arrived, his voice was filled with anger as he released a weak killing intent. "Who do you think you are? Why would I agree to such a foolish thing?" Qin Yun was not afraid as he said with a low and hoarse voice. Normally, Qin Feng was high and mighty. Even someone of his status would not dare to treat him with such an attitude. He was immediately infuriated as he raised his hand and smacked at Qin Yun's mask. Qin Yun suddenly raised his hand and grabbed at Qin Feng's wrist like a wolf's biting. Then, he rapidly channeled a powerful flame inner force. Qin Feng was shocked. He did not expect the other party to have such strong inner force. He only felt a bone-piercing heat coming from his wrist. Just when he was about to resist. "Stop!" An old man's voice, filled with anger, suddenly rang out, shaking them away. He was the one who made the first move. Qin Yun said in a deep voice, neither fast nor slow. The old man's voice was cold. He looked at Qin Feng and said coldly, Qin Feng violated the rules and dropped from 3rd place to 4th place. Qin Feng was infuriated in his heart, but he did not dare to say more. His wrist was smoking. This was the spot that Qin Yun had grabbed just a moment ago. It had already burned red, as though it was ripe. He had suffered greatly. Gritting his teeth, he stared angrily at Qin Yun before leaving angrily. Everyone was scared as they didn't expect the masked man to be so bold. He dared to offend the second prince Qin Feng of the Tianqin Empire. Qin Yun's challenger had also arrived. Although his strength was not bad, it was much weaker than his after a few days of tough training. He had only used the 1000-horse palm to defeat his opponent. Dragon Slayer has won. He is ranked 95th. A person at the 5th level martial body realm was able to increase by 5 place at once. Moreover, there was no pressure at all, making many 6th level martial body realm unable to catch up. Now, even more people wanted to know his identity. After winning one match, he continued to challenge. Dragon Slayer wins, 90th place. Quote, Dragon Slayer, 85th place. Qin Yun had fought 7 or 8 rounds a day, raising him to 60th place. His speed was astounding. Even though it was late at night, he still continued to challenge them. It was as if he wanted to rush into the top 10 in a single go. Qin Feng and the others were in the VIP lounge, watching Qin Yun fight his way over. They felt disdain in their hearts. In their eyes, everything outside of the top 10 were trash. It was normal for them to be defeated. This bastard, I will definitely teach him a lesson. Qin Feng looked at the wounds on his wrist. Not only had he suffered a loss, he had also lost face. Seeing how calm you are normally, you actually dared to make a move. Yi Chenlei said with a smile. He was smiling very happily. Because of a violation of the rules, Qin Feng was ranked 3rd, while Yi Chenlei, who was ranked 4th, did not even need to fight him to reach 3rd. Qin Feng snorted. Who asked him to reject Yu Mei? Yu Mei was very angry because of this. I just wanted to teach him a lesson on her behalf. Qi Shui suddenly said, I'm going to challenge Qi Melian, I want to rise to 6th place. She was currently in 7th place, in the top 10. She could be considered to be at the back of the pack. Everyone in the Hidden Dragon Martial Field quickly received the news that Qi Shui, who was ranked 7th, was going to challenge the 6th Qi Melian. The young martial artists in the top 10 finally had some movement after so long. This caused the entire Hidden Dragon Dojo to burst into an uproar, and this was a battle between 2 women. Qin Yun won another battle and walked down the dueling platform. Upon hearing the news, he thought to himself, Qi Shui and Qi Melian are both from the Tian Qi, they are probably not born of the same mother. Their relationship must not be harmonious. He repeated the word, Qi Melian, in his mind and suddenly felt that it was very familiar. Don't tell me it's her. When Qin Yun was young, he had accompanied the emperor to other countries before going to the Qi Empire. He was only a few years old at the time, and Qi Melian had been the one who left the most impression on him when he went to the Qi kingdom. The main thing was that she was cute, kind and very likable. Back then, Qin Yun had coincidentally fallen ill. Qi Melian was extremely concerned about him. He didn't know if it was his childhood or not. After all, he was a man with a cold world and surrounded evil intentions. The battle between Qi Shui and Qi Melian was about to begin. The two of them had already arrived at the battling platform. Qi Shui was wearing a red tight suit. Although she was beautiful, she lacked some spiritual energy. In Qin Yun's eyes, her looks were average. Now, he knew that the princess of Tianqi who had bickered with Meng Fei Ling in the Divine Inscription Palace was Qi Shui. Qi Melian was dressed in full dress, and her pink and white dress gave her a simple yet elegant look. The little girl was as beautiful as jade. Her round face and clear eyes made her look innocent. She was the kind of little sister who wanted to love him the moment she saw him. Little Melian hasn't changed at all. Qin Yun did not know why, but after seeing Qi Melian, he felt extremely happy.